There it goes. Now it's live. Guys, it's taken us way longer to get live than normally, and it was weird.
We were unlive.
So, first of all, you might be going, why did Nixie do her hair? It's all
She did lovely things to it.
It's lovely, but it's straight.
Everybody say nice things.
So it's very
encouraging nice things.
I love the color. I got a color kind of a bit straight, and I feel a little bit like Garth right now.
Insane. You're not Garth.
No, just I don't know. For some reason with the glasses and I have this little thing, and I just feel a little bit Garth-like. Anyways, okay.
I mean, I was thinking more Vince Neil, but sure, Garth.
Vince Neil too.
You look beautiful.
Yeah. There was something else I was going to say in the video version. Oh, we are drinking modified Manhattan.
This is the Janet.
No, I'm sorry. Old Fashions.
The Healer? The Janet.
I think we already had one called the Janet. I don't remember what was in it. So we'll call this the Healer.
Healer's Punch.
Yeah, Healer's Punch. This is a modified Old Fashioned with some spiced cherry bitters. Some of my good Ardbeg Scotch, which I normally do not put in cocktails, but this day deserved it, as well as a little bit of tangerine.
I'm gonna stick on I'm gonna stay on the healer theme and say that this will hold you at 1 hit point.
This will hold you at 1 hit point. Oh, for sure. You chug this down and they will wake up. It's better than smelling salts.
Yes. The Healer's Punch. I really like that. That's one of my favorite things now. Let's do this.
And yeah, I think we're just kind of get into this one.
Let's take a moment and have one healing breath. Everybody
in and out.
All right. Let's get it done.
Welcome to episode
149.
149 of There's No Place Like Terra, Stargate First Watch Rewatch Podcast. I am Nixie.
And I'm Grace. And today we are watching Season 7, Episodes 17 and 18, Heroes.
I couldn't even think of an AKA.
So I couldn't
It's just Janet.
find one. But a line kept coming back into my mind.
Yeah.
When I played my first D&D campaign with Mr. Phil and friend Amanda, and domestic partner Jesse, as was our DM, and we essentially had a total party kill, but not.
Yeah.
And friend Amanda's character was the only one awake, so she comes to my character, and DM Jesse goes, "What are you gonna do?" And we were like, well, what should she do? And then Mr. Phil goes, she shakes her and goes, what cleric do? So that kept coming to mind. So the AKA is what cleric do?
Yeah.
Because Janet is our cleric.
We've lost our cleric.
Oh, ain't no party like a D&D party till the cleric is dead and we're all out of emotions. Not my line, but I love it.
So we, we're going to do what we do in this episode. This at times will be very lighthearted. This at times will be probably one of the deepest episodes we get into.
It's going to be...
So get ready for a roller coaster of emotions here. There's No Place Like Terra. So this episode first aired February 13th and February 20th. This is a two-parter that aired as a two-parter. And part 2 is actually Stargate's 150th episode.
Wow.
Yeah.
That makes sense because we're at 149. But yeah. I will say that I want to thank Nixie for not making me wait a week to find out what's going on. Which was a blessing and a curse because I found out that, well, Jack's not dead, which was what they lead you to believe.
They very beautifully lead you to believe.
But then the happiness only lasted for about 20 minutes.
To be fair, you found that out after you find out that Janet's the one that died.
That's very true. Woo!
So this is written by Robert C. Cooper and directed by Andy. I've been pronouncing your name wrong since the start of this podcast, Makita. I will now correct that.
So how were we saying it?
Something like this. I kind of briefed over it because I knew I was pronouncing it wrong.
Makita. That makes sense.
There's a couple. Listen, this episode not only has one absolutely top-notch guest star, we have a couple.
Yeah.
So let's just start with the man who knocks all of his shit out the park so strong, Saul Rubnik.
Saul Rubnik, yes. Everyone's favorite
curmudgeon-y old man
character, yeah.
Not old, but curmudgeon-y man.
Yeah, yeah.
He is German-Canadian actor, director, producer, playwright, most interesting man in the world. Yeah. I think he's most well-known, at least for me, and I think my circle of friends, for being Artie on Warehouse 13.
That is where I know him from. And here's a testament to how good I think this guy is. I was convinced that he was on West Wing.
You were completely convinced.
I was convinced.
But here's the thing. I think it goes, and I actually had this in my notes, that that Emmett is written as a Sorkin character.
That's
in the best possible, slightly melodramatic way of that's why I love Sorkin, is because everything's a little overboard.
He's great, and he's great at these characters who provide a sense of a conscience.
Yeah.
He's in an episode.
Well, being an asshole.
Yes. He's in the, which is, it's funny. That's exactly what it leads to. So one of the other things I know him from is, if you're still watching Grey's Anatomy, thank you. I'm with you. It's kind of a shit show for a little while, but I like where it's coming again.
I even have at the end here that has seen this year on Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah, and so he plays, I believe, if I remember him properly, he plays Meredith Gray's therapist.
I can see him playing a therapist role.
And now Meredith Grace, a steely-eyed surgeon.
Yeah.
Whose husband has died. Yeah. Whose sister has died. Whose dad has died.
Basically everyone she knows has died.
Yeah, it's a soap. So
yeah, it is.
She almost died in a plane crash. Adopted a baby who was there from a rescue agency.
Yeah.
Very crazy times. It's crazy times. But he plays her hard ass but lovable and heartful therapist.
Yeah.
So he's just a good dude.
He his parents were also in theater. Actually, okay, his parents actually lived in Germany and were hidden by Polish farmers for 2 years in World War II. Yeah. A long acting career going back to the 80s. He was in The Most Toys in Next Gen. He's apparently a huge Trek fan, which always makes me happy. He was also one of his in the early 90s, one of the things he's most well for was he was in a band Played On HBO.
Wow. Yeah. Okay, so that was one of the first, I guess you could call that a docudrama?
Yeah, exactly.
That was one of the first ones I ever saw.
I think it's one of the first ones that most people saw.
That's true. I remember I was such an impressionable age. I must have been like 10. Yeah. Or, some
it was
really
93.
Young age. Yeah, so I was 11.
Yeah.
And I was just like, what? This is real?
Yeah.
This is real?
It's really beautifully hard to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. So, this man's a heavyweight.
He was also in Frasier as Daphine's fiance.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I love Frasier. Obviously, another guest star to touch on is Jane. The man they call Jane.
He's really good at playing the hard ass.
He basically plays almost the exact same character.
Maybe he is.
To be fair, he also plays almost the exact same character in Chuck. He's really good.
Yeah, he plays
at that character.
Yeah. Sometimes you get a wheelhouse and you stick to it.
Exactly. And also, there's very few people who can almost top the appearance of Saul in my book in a TV show.
Oh.
But when you get Robert Picardo in his first episode on Stargate.
Which one's Robert Picardo? Oh, the
Woolsey.
Oh, got it.
The guy who comes in the oversight committee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Got it.
Pretty much. Listen, this guy's in 1,000 things in the world, but everyone knows him best as the Doctor on Voyager and Star Trek after that.
Ah.
And it's actually really fitting that he played the Doctor because he started Yale as pre-med.
Wowza.
Oh, by the way, he has
Yale pre-med.
By the way, he has a degree in drama from Yale.
I mean, if you're gonna get one, you might as well go to the top.
Or if you're my mother, you remember him very early on from China Beach.
I remember that show's logo. It's very strange, but that's the one thing I remember.
It's like a slightly more soapy. It's like if you can merge Grey's Anatomy and MASH.
Sure.
It's exactly what China Beach is.
I'm good with that. I'm good with
China Beach and MASH combined together. I also, as a kid, remember him very clearly as Joe the Meat Man on Home Improvement.
Oh my gosh. I don't remember him at all.
He's Joe the Meat Man. He's the butcher.
I wish I knew that. Dang. The only thing I remember of Home Improvement
is Jonathan Taylor's house.
But then I also remember the episode where they get the mom, they remodel the bathroom for her.
Yes.
And it's just a shit show. But then the bathroom she has at the end,
it's stunning.
Like the sunken tub with the windows.
It's beautiful.
That's still life goals.
We watched, let's just say, a lot of Home Improvement in my house. Because sometimes it was like just a documentary of our lives.
That's fair. That sounds about right.
And Robert is also on the board of directors of a society that is very close to my heart, the Planetary Society, which, if you don't know, is an amazing nonprofit organization that is co-founded by the one, the only, none other, Carl Sagan.
Wow.
Guess why I like it so much?
I wonder now. I understand.
I am proud to actually be a member of the Planetary Society.
Right on.
And one of their big missions at the moment is the light sail, which is sort of an experiment that's seeing if you can travel through space using only sunlight, using the actual protons of sunlight.
Yeah.
Solar sail. I actually have a square centimeter on that sail.
That's cool.
Wow.
I remember. I actually remember you telling me that.
They crowdfunded it on Kickstarter.
That feels very timely. A timely conversation to have. I just saw an imager, and you can tell me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
That I guess it's Hubble finally ran out of gas.
It's not Hubble.
Who is it?
It's.
But someone just finally is officially dead because they ran out of gas. Kepler?
Yeah, it's Kepler.
So I just was reading that. I get my news from Imager.
There's worse things.
But there was a lot of people that were like, how is it dead if it has solar panels? It's like, no, but the solar panels are powered by the gas. So this would be really cool, the light sail.
Yeah, so it's the Kepler Space Telescope I was trying to get. It's basically, this thing has discovered like 2,500 planets.
Oh, RIP.
Yeah, it had a very, very good life. It is a satellite telescope, so it's not like one on Earth or anything like that. It was out there for 9 years.
Did a lot of work.
It was a beast. It's one of those things where you're always hoping to get more life out of something. I mean, Hubble is way past its lifespan. And the replacement for Hubble, that's a long story. Let's not get into it.
No, we won't. But you mentioned the light sail and how completely solar powered, and it just felt very timely.
Yeah.
Dang.
It's
good for it.
Yeah.
It had a lot of work done.
But so the light sail's up there, seeing if you can travel with using just sunlight, the photons from sunlight pushing the light. That's
cool.
Basically catching all the winds. They're champions
literally a light sail. I get it now.
Literally a light sail. They're champions of public support for space exploration, the search for extraterrestrial entities. The CEO is Mr. Bill Nye.
Well, sure.
Notable people on their advisory council are people like Buzz Aldrin and Neil deGrasse Tyson, among many, many others.
I love when Buzz Aldrin is like the least of your names. Like, when you have
it's like Robert Picardo, Carl Sagan, Bill Nye, Neil deGrasse Tyson. Oh yeah, and then Buzz Aldrin.
Yeah. It's like you're in good company.
Yeah.
When it's like that's the least heavyweight dude in some circles.
Yeah. Planetary.org. Go check them out. They are awesome. And like I said, Robert Picardo is like on the board of directors. It's pretty awesome. So he's like, I love anyone who uses sort of, I'm sure he's the first to tell you, like, not famous or whatever, but people who use whatever notability they have to push STEM research in any way, shape, or form.
I'm good with that. So that makes me happy. As the auntie to a niece who's like, no, I'm going into math.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, she's like, I'm going to math up life.
I wish I could math up life.
Yeah, I love her for
To be fair, if I was able to math up life, we would not have met in this podcast.
You would be out in space right now.
I'd be in space. I would be, as I wear my NASA shirt today.
Yeah. But I'm proud of her for not. She goes, it's really hard, but I like it. I'm like, then go to town, kid.
Go it. So this episode, Heroes, was nominated for 2 Leo Awards. one for Best Direction for a Dramatic Series, and one for Mr. Adonis Davies as Best Supporting Man in a Dramatic Series. We will get on to the tour de fucking force that Dom brings to this goddamn episode.
I'm surprised it's already predicted to get guest star.
Yeah.
A nod.
Yeah.
It must have been a really good year.
It was, yeah. And apparently this episode was not meant to be a two-parter at first.
Oh.
This was meant to be a single episode, but they realized, you know, their first edit was just over 60 minutes. And they were able to whittle it down, but not to one clean episode.
Yeah.
And so they had talked apparently about doing this as like an hour and a half, more of like an event. But then what do you do in syndication and things like that?
Right.
So
how do you split that up?
It was supposed to be earlier in the season, which is partly, I think, why we haven't seen Janet in the past run of episodes, because this was supposed to be a bit earlier in the season.
Got it.
They wanted to give it this breathing space. So instead, they shot it over this large period of time, which is why if this show was not so emotionally investing, you would have noticed things like RDA's hair get super short halfway through the episode.
Oh, you know what? I didn't pick up on anything.
Again, because so they filmed this over like this like half the season. This was so piecemeal together to get all these shots, but they added these things in to make this a two-part episode. Yeah. And I think we pretty much all on this podcast agree with much of the cast and crew saying that this is probably the best episode of Stargate ever made.
I mean, as far as what I've seen, it's fucking up there. I mean, it's up there with the Daniels ones and with Jack and the Daniel.
I know which one you're talking about, but I can't play the one where.
But absolutely,
the first ascended Jack is gonna die episode.
It's like that whole story of ascension.
Yeah.
Is the only one that comes to this level of story.
And we address that one in this too.
Yeah.
You know,
and it only shows how strong this story is because it's technically not about a lead.
It's not.
But it holds as much weight as that one.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the other one's got a weighted GPA and this one doesn't. Yeah. And it still somehow has the same GPA.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
this season, to let you know, was originally, they truly thought this was going to be the last season of Stargate.
Oh, wow.
So they're here going.
I guess, if you're 7 seasons in, you're like, we've had a good run.
You're 7 seasons. They thought this was going to be the last. So Janet dying here would not impact this series going forward as a whole very much because we have, I believe,
a handful of episodes.
3 episodes left.
I don't want to look up because I'm worried about seeing things in titles.
And needless to say, this was not the final season. So we now have a few more seasons without Janet.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder who takes care of the sick from here.
I mean, there are other doctors
in
the SGC.
So my biggest concern is actually Cassie.
Well, I thought about that, and Sam and we'll sort of, I guess, touch on this when we get to that part. Sam mentions that Cassie's strong, and we know for a fact that Cassie's strong. Cassie's already survived losing her entire planet.
Well, she is, but she's also 17.
I was going to say, I can't remember if she's 17 or 18. I'm guessing she's either 17 or 18, and I think to ease plot story-wise, I'm going to say she's 18, so that she doesn't have to have a guardian. But she has. It's like if it was in any other officer, fireman, military.
She's gonna be.
She has the entire family.
Yeah. But we're definitely putting the cart before the horse. So let's get into the episode.
Yeah. So the one thing I want to touch on before we get into all of this, because I think I listened to the commentary, which I don't always do, but I really wanted to for this episode before I've recorded. And they touch on the fact that when this aired, when they were writing this, when they were recording this, there were major military activities going on in Iraq and Afghanistan, etc.
Yep, this was February 2003?
2004.
2004, okay. So we were well into it at this point.
And they didn't want to make this a commentary on that. But at the same time, you can't not make something like this a commentary on that somehow in some form. So they go, you know, regardless of any view, regardless of any political issue, regardless of anything, you know, this is showing the story of the people who are on the front lines, who are actually going through situations like this. Yeah. And you can't make a story about the Air Force. You can't make a story about the men and women who would be in this and not have, when you're trying to have real characters in real situations, they go through shit like this. Yeah. These are consequences that are going to happen eventually.
And it feels incredibly timely right now. I know that this episode won't air for you guys until Thanksgiving week, but we're recording on Veterans Day.
We are recording on Veterans Day.
So I was doing my rewatch. I woke up early this morning to do it, and I was just like, fuck, this is the reality thing. So I know we're a couple weeks late, but our gratitude to people
for sure,
regardless of any political
slanja boy.
Yeah.
So as we do have our cocktails, we showed the Patreon on the video our cocktails, but we needed something to get through this episode.
It's a strong cocktail.
Yeah.
We'll see what state Grace is in by the end of this. We were talking yesterday. I had a group project, which is going surprisingly well. I think it's the group.
That's good.
Yeah. But we were talking about one of the books we're reading and how it's falling apart at the end, and how they're like, maybe it's like the old Chaucer plays where by the end of it you were supposed to be drunk, so that's why it falls apart, because you're supposed to be so drunk you don't care. So that I'm taking that and reversed it, guys. So I'm going to be so drunk at the end that this is going to fall apart. So if you want to be drunk with me,
please start drinking now. Yeah. So we start with what I think Grace originally thought was behind the scenes footage.
I was like, wait, did we hit the wrong thing? Are we into bonus features?
Emmett and his crew are getting B-roll of the Stargate, and we introduce Colonel Tom Randall, who is the PR liaison.
Have we seen him before?
We have seen him before, actually.
Because I was like, I feel like he might be familiar, but I don't trust my brain.
His twin brother, we'll call him, is Special Agent James Hammer instead.
Oh.
So, I mean, I can imagine if there's twins, they both go into law enforcement in some way. One's just in the Air Force, and
I'm convinced that twins are spies.
Yeah, probably.
Who can pretend to be each other, always, all the time, forever.
And Emmett introduces his team: sound man and camera guy.
That is your name.
Sound man and camera guy.
Well, and it's like they kind of just showed up that day. They just showed up that day. Like they just got, hey, you two, you got to sign this detail. Imagine you just happen to be good with a camera. So it's like you're doing this work.
Yeah, this is you now.
Like, all right, cool. Sweet. No big deal.
So hold up. Wait a minute. Usnavi's leaving us for the Dominican Republic. Sorry if I'm ever a lie that appears in anything Lin-Manuel Miranda I'm going to break into. Hold up, they can't quite film yet. They have to speak to General Hammond, regardless of whatever clearances Emmett thinks he has. So Hammond and Emmett meet.
Yeah.
And it is the meeting of two giant goddamn titans.
Yeah, I've never seen Hammond so outwardly rude.
He won't even shake his hand.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen Hammond hold his own and project disdain. But just straight up rude.
Yeah.
It's wild. It takes me, it's a little bit like, whoa, what's happening here?
He reminds Emmett how much the people on the base will not be excited to see him. And the security of his people and his base is the most important thing regardless of anything.
Well, that's not wrong.
Emmett gets that, but he also reminds Hammond not to forget that there were cameras on the beaches of Normandy. Like, he's here for a reason. And while only a few people might see this film that he's making right now, eventually more people will see it.
Yeah.
He respects what Hammond and his people are doing. This is not a reality show. He's like, I don't care if people are uncomfortable with me being here. This project will be made public. And the president himself asked me to be here.
Yeah, there's something really great about Brenton's approach. He's like, because I don't know if I can trust him yet either.
No.
Hammond doesn't know if he can trust him. No one knows if we can trust him, but he's like, I have a purpose.
Yeah.
I know that you don't believe in me, and I know that you think I'm not worthy of being here. And I know what you think I am, but I know that I'm not.
Exactly.
And I do love this, as someone who's worked in the media, this idea that you don't ever build anything that goes on the air with the thought, well, this won't be up for very long.
Yeah.
Or this won't be seen by a lot of people. You always put effort into everything.
Because with that project that you were working on at that time, bringing the truth and bringing the facts of that subject forward is basically your only mission.
Yep.
And you will go through hell and fucking high water to see that that is brought out.
Yeah. It's just a big deal to always approach everything like everyone's going to hear it. Yeah. Everyone's going to see it.
And Hammond reminds Emmett who that red phone in his desk connects to. Yeah. And that he and his people will cooperate to the letter of the orders that he has.
Yeah.
And very, he's like, fine line here. I will be splitting every hair I can cut.
I know. I want to take a minute for something a little lighthearted.
Yes.
The phone looks like it was duct taped and then spray painted red. You see this thing that almost looks like a phone? It is the shape of a phone, but it's really just like a red cardboard box.
Yes.
The president is inside.
The president is inside. Do you remember Shining Time Station?
Yeah.
And like with the fans inside the jukebox?
That's exactly
we have a little tiny president who is inside that phone.
Yeah. Tiny president.
And credits.
Yikes.
Tiny president! So there have been war correspondents since. Hey, Grace, what's that name?
Since Thucydides.
Some Greek guy in the Peloponnesian War.
Yeah. I think it's Thucydides. The spelling's throwing me off.
This is like the shortest, quickest, briefest history of war correspondence that's ever been gone on in history. But Henry Crabb Robinson was one of the real first journalists, like that covered wars for a newspaper. He covered Napoleon's campaigns for the Times of London.
Wow.
And then during World War I, basically before World War II, essentially, there were government staged videos. Sort of the government propaganda. And partly that was just because you couldn't get the cameras into these areas safely.
Okay.
So in order to show the public what was going on, there's only so many ways they could do it. Okay. Of course, if the government's going to do that, if the military's going to do that, it's going to be shined on upon them in a positive manner.
Got it.
To keep morale up and everything. Mm-hmm. But they did have people writing and reporting in those areas, but they tended to be sort of these longer form pieces. Okay. They'd go out and it would be months while they wrote these long form pieces, covering the different wars. In World War I, everything was very strongly censored. The public really only got to see what the government and the military wanted the people to see.
Sure.
Because even what the reporters were writing was then screened.
Yeah. Well, I remember everything was, even the letters home.
Yeah.
Were like, I always think of Catch-22.
Yeah.
And where it's like, everything was just black marks. And so is it our lead character is like, at some point, he's just blacking out everything he wants. Except random words here or there. So that's where my brain went.
So, and one of the reasons that the Vietnam War became the cultural touchstone that it did was because the network sent cameramen and journalists in to see things in the first person. And I think in the Vietnam War, these journalists were given much freer range than even journalists are given today in war zones and in conflict areas. People saw this footage on the nightly news.
Well, and there was a clearer purpose as to why.
Yes.
And so when the why gets muddied, the work gets muddied.
Yes.
And there was just this very clear, here's why we're doing this.
Yeah.
We need to show people.
And the public really got faced with the reality, this non-censored, actually what's going on in reality for the first time. And I think, there's been so many things written specifically on the reporting of the Vietnam War and how that affected the public view of the war. And then this generation, I know my generation was caught off, mine and the slightly before me was caught off guard just on, the first and the second Gulf Wars and seeing for the first time war in real time. And after 9/11 on 24-hour news networks, you watch the entire thing.
Yeah. Which is, again, it feels almost a little muddied. Where's the balance? Why are we here?
Exactly.
Why are we here? Like, it's not enough to say, why are we doing this? And the why be to tell the public, no. Why do we need to tell?
Exactly.
Why is this story important?
Yeah. Why is it just, it gets to the part where it's almost, because there's no context and it's just, here's raw footage of what's happening with no context putting into it. So I think that's definitely what Emmett in this show, to bring it back, is trying to do. He's trying to take all this footage and he's trying to put the context around it.
Which is tough. It's tough to do that without a bias.
It is.
And I think that may be why people end up in the, we'll just show everything.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just, it's a tricky place to live. Also, maybe Thucydides. I don't know how to pronounce the C.
And nowadays, after Vietnam, journalists and reporters are basically put in these pools, and they're escorted by troops around to sort of partially to control their safety, partially to control what they can see. Because if you stray outside of those pools, they will revoke your visa and your photos and your notes.
Well, and it's important to know that it's a war.
It is a war. There is a line somewhere.
There's a line. We gotta. You can't tell everybody what you're doing.
Yeah, there's because there is a line between reporting things and reporting the truth of things and compromising the safety for the people who are over there,
who are doing the work that is there to be done.
Exactly.
It's such a tough place to exist in. It's such a hard thought for me to wrap around. Yeah. One, because I do work in the media. Yeah. And two, because it's important to tell the truth.
It is.
You know what I mean? So you're like, well, at what point are you not telling the truth? But there's bigger things at stake here.
Exactly.
It's just such a hard.
And it's the reason that where that line is a passionately argued debate on both sides of it.
Absolutely.
It is, and I firmly believe there is no right answer. And it's both sides are doing things for their own very honest and true, what they feel is important for the context of the world.
It's one of those things where there's not one answer that will work every time.
No,
there just isn't. Every situation requires a different answer.
Exactly. So, and I think that's one of the things that, besides the obvious, and we'll get to this again, besides the obvious emotional touchstone in this episode, this is the other emotional touchstone that I have in this episode. Yeah. So
it's a tough one.
Yeah. When we come back from credits,
and now for when
we come back from credits, Randall is adorably trying to tell Emmett that the style he thinks this documentary should be is cinema verte, which is observational cinema, which is like, think Parks and Rec. Yeah. Basically. Yeah. Ish is the closest, the Office and things like that. It's what most people think of when they think of documentaries these days.
For sure, yeah.
And
the original Real World.
The original Real World. You're filming real life. It's not just fantasy. You're caught in a escape from reality. So Emmett is going, thanks.
I got this.
I'm down for more of the wringing the truth out of these people method approach, and I do love that he confuses soldiers and airmen. Yeah, and Randall's like, no, if you're gonna be here, don't fuck that up.
Which I wouldn't have ever thought of. Yeah, I don't know enough. Yeah, and I was like, oh, okay, that's the thing to remember.
And he goes, if this story was going to tell itself, there would be a Stargate updates on the nightly news. And immediately I go, I would like to make that opening stinger, please.
Well, it's like, where is the section? People do the health section. Yeah. People do the tech section. Where is the Today in Space?
Where is Today in Space?
Why is that not a thing yet?
People would know that the Kepler Space Telescope ran out of juice if we had a Today in Space.
No. Today in Space. I'm making it real. I'm writing it down in my notes.
So Emmett knows these people conceal things for a living, and it'll take some time to earn their trust. And Emmett gets reminded over and over and over and over and over again that he is to document what is going on, not to pursue anything that might be prejudicial to the Air Force personnel. And he gets very excited to see Jack walking down the hallway.
It's like a superstar.
Jack walks right past him. He prefers vanilla over chocolate. His favorite color is peridot. He thinks Tibet should be free, and if he could have dinner with anyone in the world, it'd be Mary Steenburgen.
Which I don't blame him for.
I don't blame him.
I recently listened to her on the Mark Maron podcast, and she is lovely and intelligent.
Exactly.
But I do have a bone to pick with Jack.
Yeah.
Vanilla over chocolate.
Okay, I will say this. Only in a half defense.
Okay.
If it is a real vanilla with vanilla, like actual used vanilla beans, and there's vanilla beans in there, I will take that over most chocolate.
But if you're calling that the vanilla, then you have to take the richest, realest chocolate. You have to compare
this. This is very true. I'm just saying sometimes I would prefer a really good vanilla over a chocolate.
Yeah, no, here's what would save it for me.
Yeah.
Does he put sprinkles on it? Or Jimmy's, as they're called in some parts of the world.
I can see him being the chocolate sprinkle fan. Because not the colored sprinkle fan.
If I'm a sprinkles person, when I'm feeling sprinkly,
yes,
I am not putting sprinkles on chocolate ice cream.
Yeah,
I am only putting sprinkles on vanilla.
Like I said, I can see him not doing the colored sprinkles, but the chocolate sprinkles.
Then it's a pass.
Okay.
Also, I looked up how long Mary Steenburgen's been married.
Yeah.
Just to
it's
see.
Like forever, isn't it?
Well, since 95, actually, because Ted Danson had a couple of.
To be fair, in the world of Hollywood, that is forever.
This is true. Yeah, this is true. I was just thinking.
Also, Ted Danson is also amazing.
He's really
like I love fucking Ted Danson.
Another one who's been on the Mark Maron podcast and is just beautiful. He was on that podcast. He also did a great episode of Armchair Expert.
Oh, really?
Which is Dax Shepard's podcast. Which, because his wife works with Ted Danson.
Yes. By the way, The Good Place is adorable, and please watch it.
It's a really fun show. And if you don't, you're basic.
You're basic.
I love his approach to life. He's very much like the dude.
He is in a way that I only wish I was that cool.
Yeah, he's just very cool. He's just a very cool dude.
Yeah. But as Jack gets in the elevator and leaves, he does the most amazing move that I wish I had the stones to pull off. Before he goes to shake Emmett's hand, he coughs very fakely in his hand and reaches his hand out. And Emmett's like, no. And he's like, okay, well, I'm going to nope out of here. Bye. Yeah.
There's a lot of animosity towards Bergman.
Almost just throws a smoke bomb.
Yeah. And he's like, I'm done. Gotta go back.
Oh, you know that Jack has no shits to give some journalists.
No, and it's a tough look.
But the thing is, I will say this. I don't think that it is Emmett specifically.
Well, that's what I mean.
It is all journalists.
It's a tough one to swallow. It's a bitter pill to swallow.
Yes.
But anyway, we're good. We're good.
So it's Sam's turn. She's the first up for the interview. Very nervous, very uncomfortable.
How adorably awkward.
Super freaking, just adorkable in the greatest sense. I mean, they did have a bad experience with the TV crew last year. Yeah. You know, sort of stealing the Prometheus, which is why camera guy and sound man are Air Force.
Right.
And, you know, to Sam, this is just a group of people doing their jobs.
Yeah, this is just what we're just doing our work. Truly, it's just that. I don't want to say humble. It's the wrong word.
Yeah, she's a bit
practical.
It's like, don't put us up on a pedestal. We're just doing our jobs. We may have a more exciting job than others, but
it just happens to be what our job is. Yeah.
And Emmett argues, she's like, look, you and your job are nothing short of extraordinary. And is, you know, taken by Sam's,
of course,
just her air of stunningness inside and out. Emmett gives her the fanciest introduction ever, and Amanda is brilliant at looking that adorably awkward.
Yeah, because it's got to be work for her to do that, because there's someone who lives on camera. Like, you know what I mean? Whose career is to be on camera, to find a way to look that uncomfortable on camera.
So cute.
It's got to be like it's like writing with your opposite hand. You know what I mean? Like, that's the amount of work it must be.
So now we have a walk and talk with Daniel. Emmett has never asked this before, but what was it like to be dead? He's like, well, I wasn't really dead, but I did have to die to get there. And right before he can elaborate more, his pager, let me say that again, his pager.
I'm going to stop you for just a second.
Yes.
Because it is 2004.
Uh-huh.
And I looked up phones
yeah.
and pagers.
Yeah.
In 2004, the Razor already existed.
Yeah.
And he is using a pager.
Okay, and I'm going to give one attempt to give this a pass.
Okay.
They are deep inside a mountain.
This is true.
But also, his printer sets his pager off.
Yeah. I didn't even get that far. I was just like, pager.
I can maybe say that they have some sort of weird internal network that only works on pagers that deep into the mountain. Instead of having overhead announcements every 10 minutes. But more importantly, his printer sets his pager off.
It's a magical printer.
My printer in 2018 that is wireless and does 18,000 things does not text my phone that it's printing.
Now, I wonder...
Could I set that up?
Here's my thing.
Can I have my printer call me?
Here's what I'm going to do. You can send fax machines to auto-dial stuff when they receive it.
Okay.
Right? I know this because I worked in a station where they had a machine like that.
This might be a fax machine and not a printer.
It could be like a double situation.
Yeah.
So maybe he set it up to dial his number thinking it's sending a fax. It doesn't work.
The important part off is that this sets off a really great moment where he's like, he can't, he just runs. He sets off running with the pager. And he's like, I'm sorry. And he runs, and then Emmett follows him, and the dynamic do run, and he ends up, and he grabs the pager off the printer, and he, in an excited voice, says that it's the mass fragment he got from P3X298, and it's dated to match the pre-dynastic time of Egypt, and Emmett's like, what does this mean? Fascinating.
It's just, it's really cool.
And he's like, but why did you run? And Daniel, because we love him with all of our hearts, and he is becoming such a beautiful troll.
Oh, yes.
Is like, I just wanted to see if you would chase me.
I've never related. Look, we all know how I went on this roller coaster of not liking Daniel to loving Daniel. I've never felt closer to Daniel
than in this moment.
Than in this very moment. And I want to share a story about the time where I used to be a designer at a TV station, at a local TV station. And so sometimes the producers would come find me to ask for something instead of putting it through the system. Yeah. And usually if they came to find me, it meant it was going to be something awful and terrible that I probably did not want to do and would reject. So they wanted to appeal to me in person. So there was one producer who caught me in the tape room. And mind you, I loved all of these.
Yeah, of course.
None of this was contentious.
Yeah, no.
But she's like, Grace, I need to tell you something. And I went, no. And I ran. And this woman chased me. Now, here's my favorite part about it. She goes, I have a 4-year-old. You can't win. And I was like, oh, she's right. And she did. And she caught me in heels.
Yeah. Daniel, we have never loved you more than in this moment.
That chase, though.
You are, and this is not your only troll move in this episode.
It's true.
We love you in this episode. So in Bill Lee's lab next, he's showing off the new ceramic polymer that is stronger than Kevlar, stronger than armor plating, and it fits into the off-road vests. Sergeant Seiler will demonstrate for us. Emmett's like, well, do you want me to try on the vest? He goes, no, this is what Seiler does.
Yes, this is his job.
And then Teal'c just picks up the staff weapon, and before Seiler can even get out away from the face buddy, it just shoots him.
Yeah.
He goes flying against the wall. Don't worry, the guy that put Seiler out on fire is actually Dan Shay's assistant.
It's a nice little meta moment.
It's beautiful. Just the line, it's what Seiler does.
Yeah, that's what he do.
Seiler does that all the time. Makes just, it's those type of inside jokes that make me love this show as much as I do.
It is a little break between the fourth wall of the fourth wall, excuse me. It's good times.
So Sam shows off the control room. If you ever wondered what all those blinking lights in the background are, Sam explains it in this amazing techno babble, but doesn't necessarily explain what the blinking lights are. And really, Emma just wants to see a shot of the gate spinning.
Right.
She's like, sure.
Here you go.
Steam comes out and everything.
That must be.
Do you want this shiny object, puppy?
It must be the bane of her existence. There's other people close to our lives, and I won't say their names in case they don't want this shared, but very, very intelligent people in our lives who've talked about how sometimes they feel left out. Yeah. Because they're smart and their brains move so fast. Yeah. That other people don't keep up, including me. And sometimes I'm like, I don't know what you said. I want to know what you said. Are you talking about me? Well, you may be one of them. But there's two I have in mind. And I did not want to out them. But I was like, this must be one of those moments. Sam must be one of those people where every now and then you just feel a little bummed that people can't keep up.
To me, it's more of, do I have to say that again? Because I don't necessarily remember what I just said. Yeah. I think that was really eloquent.
Luckily, when I was younger, I learned how to glean information. Without processing all the words. Which is something I learned.
Just learn keywords.
Yeah, I learned to do this weird speed reading thing that they put us through in 4th grade. I don't know why. They picked like 5 of us. Maybe we were just the fast readers.
Maybe you're just the people who got bored in class that needed something extra.
That may be what it is. And so I learned how to look at a page and pick up the information without actually reading it. Yeah. So I've learned to do that with the fast talkers, with the fast thinkers in my life.
I don't know what you mean. I talk at a very normal rate of speed. I never talk fast in my entire life. I don't know. So, right as they're going to film, SG team is about to leave on a mission. So Emmett and his crew don't have clearance to film that. Yeah. So the team is SG-13. This is Colonel Dixon's team. They arrive on the planet, and I love their tradition of taking bets as to what they're going to find.
Yeah, I do love that.
The options are from abandoned Nakoda mine to 2-headed aliens to the ruins of an ancient city, and the option of trees is disqualified for being, absolutely.
Yeah. Now, do you think our redhead, whose name I don't remember, I keep wanting to
call Belinsky, I think.
Okay, I keep wanting to call him Joe Kennedy Jr. because that's who he looks like.
Kind of does, yeah.
Do you think every time they go somewhere, he's like, ruins of an ancient city?
Oh, I'm sure he does.
Always his best. Because he's so excited.
It's the only thing he says. And as they walk, Dixon is lamenting to Wells about what he can expect from his first kid that's coming soon. Dixon has 4, and after that, facing bad guys through the gate is nothing. It's relaxing.
He makes it sound awful.
He makes it sound miserable.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, don't ask
people
me.
It is, yeah.
When they reach the clearing, Belinsky wins the ruins of an ancient city.
And you can tell he's never won.
He's so excited.
He's just like, I was right.
To be fair, I can say that he may have won before. It's just simply the sights of having like ancient ruins.
That's fair.
Just sends him overboard.
That could have been it. Yeah.
I mean, he orgasms right there at the top of the mountain.
I was thinking about this, right? I love that. took a second to process. I was thinking about how they get there and they show up and you see the ruins, and I realized that my brain just doesn't move that fast. I think I would walk into the ruins before I knew I was in them. Like I realized that the ruins, but while you're moving and you're just doing stuff and you're carrying a lot of gear and it's hot and it's blah blah blah. I would just be like, okay, pillar. Oh my God.
But you're also not the person who's like waiting and bated breath around every corner.
Is it a pillar? Is it a pillar? That's fair. Yeah.
So Jack pours himself some coffee, and again, as usual, RD has to check. For some reason, Jack is always looking in his coffee mug for things, and I love it. They're in the control room, and Sam and him discuss the documentary. And Sam kind of guesses that, you talked to him, and you talked about Mary Steenburgen, didn't you? And he's like, damn right I did.
Yeah.
Did Sam seriously think that Jack read any memo?
Yeah.
First of all.
Do you think he reads any emails ever?
That's what he said earlier. Should put it in the memo.
Yeah.
Jack and his memos. Also, I love the fact that they're still memos and not just emails.
That's fair. Well, do you think it's an email that is a memo? Like, is it just wording?
Maybe, I guess. I've always been slightly confused to the difference, I guess because I grew up with always emails, as to the difference between an email and a memo. Is that showing my age?
I think a memo can be a type of email.
Yeah, I guess.
Like a memo is a memo, and a memo can be printed or it can be emailed.
Just how a square is a rectangle, but a rectangle doesn't mean it's a square.
Exactly.
So.
No, I do think that Jack is also the person who throws away any mail unopened that isn't something he was expecting.
Yes.
Like, where it sounds like even the junk mail, she's like, well, I better see what this is about.
And Jack's like, no fucks.
Yeah.
No fucks.
Nope.
Fucks.
Oh, cool. This looks fun.
We do learn that officially the documentary crew is here for the 1000th trip through the Stargates.
Wow, was that?
But she thinks that there's something else to it.
Mm-hmm.
Jack just thinks there should be cake.
Yeah, I think so too.
So Emmett and his crew set up in Daniel's office. He asked Daniel about having his memory erased when he turned to human form. And Daniel's
Can you
like,
imagine saying that?
I don't remember.
I just keep thinking, imagine trying to tell this story to someone, like let's think of last episode.
Yeah.
Imagine just being like, so this is my friend Daniel, and he died, and then he came back, but he was ascended, and so when he died, he turned into this ball of stuff. But me, like, sincerely, and expecting people to believe that, because I think 2 minutes into that telling, I'd be like, "You're full of shit, I'm out." Nope.
And they talk about his pre-Stargate days. Daniel is almost confused as to what he wrote back then, because I wonder if he actually, that's some of the memories he gave it back. And Emmett asks why Catherine sought him out. He goes, you'd have to ask her. Yeah. I don't know.
I love that.
Because his fairly passive-aggressive answers in the scene are the type of answers I would like to think in my soul that I would give to him. Yeah.
I wish I could work that way. I think that there's a certain amount of people pleaser in me that would try to be sincere.
And that's the thing, and that's the problem is I think realistically I'd be a Sam.
Yeah.
But in my heart of hearts, I wish I could be the Daniel.
I mean, I wish I could be the Teal'c.
We'll
get there.
So Sam is the only member of this team that's not trolling Emmett. And speaking of trolling Emmett, let us get to the master of the troll.
I do want to, before we leave the Catherine conversation, I love the way Daniel smiles when he thinks about Catherine.
I know.
It is the most adorable smile.
It's very sweet because clearly this is someone, I mean, Catherine means so much to Daniel.
Yeah. Anyway, let's get back to the king of the trolls.
The king of the trolls, Mr. Teal'c. Emmett at least tries to interview him, because the entire time Teal'c just stands there keeping his blue steel solid. Emmett is trying to talk to him about turning against the Gould and fighting them. And finally he's like, if you're not going to answer anything, then why are you here? He goes, General Hammond told me to be here.
Yeah.
He said nothing about actually saying anything.
Yeah, I am here. I'm being.
And at the very least, Emmett does get an indeed when he asks if Jack is his commanding officer.
Yep.
And he tries to ask more until just straight up and nopes out of there.
I love the nope on camera nope. I love that just like we watch him leave as opposed to zooming out and watching him out the door. I love that we're in frame and it's like Teal'c and then nope.
No Teal'c.
And then the nope more Teal'c anymore. I gotta go bite.
It's so good.
He did the physical equivalent of when I'm done talking to certain people and I go, okay, bye.
And I will say this, I think Teal'c, Chris Judge, gets the least screen time of any of our main guys in this episode, but the screen time he has is mwah.
Oh yes.
It is. Yeah. It is every ounce that he has poured in. Every person in this episode is top of their game. But there's something Because you have this and you have this side of teal that we love, and then just the steely-eyed, I'm not telling you a damn thing because I hate every fiber of your being and I don't want to be here. And we'll get to the scene at the end with Sam.
Well, we touch on all of his core values.
Yeah,
we do. It's like honesty, integrity, and
loyalty.
Don't give a fuckness.
Yeah.
And loyalty. Yeah.
And don't give a fuckness is one of my core beliefs.
So I wish it were mine.
Back on the planet, everyone is mindlessly bored except for Belinsky. They want to leave, but he's like, we just got here 18 hours ago or something. He's pretty sure this place was built by the ancients, and Daniel will die when he sees this.
Yeah. How often must they think, oh, this was built by ancients? Like at some point it's like, everything can't have been built by ancients. But
let us not gloss over the amazing when he's like, Daniel will die when he sees this. And Dixon goes, again?
Oh, that was really good. I'm going to do an on-air run to the kitchen.
Okay.
So continue.
I will continue. So to pass the time, well, Grace is in the kitchen. No, to pass the time, Wells is showing the sonogram of his son off. And the guys are all sort of lightly harassing him. And how do you know it's a boy and all the kind of stuff. When just then an Imperial droid from the ice planet of Hoth shows up and starts firing at the team, they are able to take it down by collapsing a wall behind it. This is a maneuver we've seen from them before that we want to steal for D&D.
Yeah, we did write this one down and decide this is how we D&D things.
We're going to use it eventually.
I also want to confess my naivety.
Yeah.
When this happened, I was like, oh, maybe it's just a camera. Maybe they're, nope, it's not friendly. It's not friendly run.
Well, it was made by the Empire. So, I mean, very...
But yeah, I want to learn that when you attack something and it does not take any damage, just dump a wall on it.
Dump a wall on it. Yep. And after it's done, they do walk up to it and kill it real good.
Oh, yeah.
Super kill it.
To be sure.
And now Emmett interviews Kinsey.
Yuck.
And it's basically vomit-inducing.
Yep.
He just goes on as if this was the greatest program that's ever been, which it is, to be fair, but he has not always supported it.
Yeah, fuck this dude.
Yes.
Fuck this dude. It's that person that exists everywhere who's a naysayer.
Yeah.
And then as soon as things are good, they're like, oh, yeah, this thing is great. It's like, it's such a gross feeling because, one, you want to feel good that they finally see the truth, but you're also like, fuck you. You don't get to take credit.
Besides the fact that because it's Kinsey, you're like, how much are you just saying because it sounds good on camera and politically advantageous for you in this moment? How much do you actually believe?
Yeah.
Because he's the person who sends Woolsey in later.
That's true.
So, and I will say this before we get any further, we hate Kinsey with our entire soul. Ronnie Cox, however, the actor, we discovered that he's not only an amazing person, he's an amazing musician. Go find his music.
Because,
we love Ronnie Cox.
Well, you can't.
And we love him.
If you don't love the actor.
Exactly.
It's got to be great.
And we love him for making such a horrible bad guy come to life.
Thank you for giving us something to hate so bad.
His speech to Emmett and his crew, they just everyone falls asleep because this guy is boring and lifeless.
Like, we're out.
And Rundell and Hammond are also watching this. And Emmett goes, how do I say this? This sounds like a prepared speech.
Yeah.
How about we do something a little more conversational? And Kinsey's like, no.
Not happening.
And just gets up and walks off. And Hammond's almost laughing at this. And then, as if it couldn't get any better, the crew follows Kinsey to the commissary.
Yep.
Where Jack is eating and I think doing crossword inside of a mission report.
Yeah, I couldn't figure that one out either. I was like, well, he's got a manila folder, but I swear he was doing something.
That's what I think. I think it's one of those where, like, when you put the comic book inside the book. Yeah. Jack looks up and see the camera crew start to come in, and he's like, "Oh, did he tell you about the time that Kinsey almost got this place shut down, or the time that you had Hammond by the and Kinsey interrupts him?"
Yeah.
Reminding him that slander is a serious offense. Jack's like, fuck you very much.
I want to take a minute to point out in this scene, there's a redhead in the back, one of the extras, who makes the best face ever. She does like a what the fuck face. Like, one, don't you know better than to bother Jack while he's eating? And two, fuck you, Kinsey. Like, I feel like that's just marvelously done.
Fantastic.
Because it really is the way you would react when you're not like the star at work and someone comes and does something that you know is not going to go well, and you're like, you done fucked up.
Have fun with that. I'm going to sit here and watch.
Yep. Yeah.
So Kinsey tries putting on a show for the camera about how much of a strong supporter of the pro. Jack is not having any of this, and by now everyone is watching this. Yeah. Jack's like, okay. Well, then we learn about the other shoe dropping. The president's term is almost up, and Kinsey is. We don't know right now if he's running for president or he's running as vice president, but he's running. And he knows he can count on Jack's vote, and Jack could not eye roll any bigger.
Oh, yeah.
If he tried.
He's just going to lose his eyeballs. They're just going to go all the way back in his brain.
And Jack can play this game.
Yeah.
He makes sure Emmett's recording, and he goes off. You smarmy, self-righteous, opportunistic asshole. Just then, Jack continues to swear while the off-world activation alarm goes off. And he just continues to go off.
No, the best part is all censored now.
And that's fine. Jack was done.
Yeah. One more weird thing that I noticed this scene, I like how there's a basket of rolls where the cutlery is. There should always be a basket of rolls.
Always a basket of rolls.
I'm going to keep
everywhere
rolls in my cutlery drawer. Anyway.
So it's SG-13 on the Melp. Belinsky wants to stay, and the rest of the team doesn't. SG-3 will come as backup, and in the meantime, they're going to send a UAV probe back, or no, they're going to send the dead probe back to the SGC so Sam can fiddle with it.
So here's my thought, and I don't know how strategic military things work, but I would almost wonder.
I mean, I don't.
I would almost wonder, because he's like, I need 2 days. 2 days feels like a very long time.
Yes.
So wouldn't you send crews that have other archaeologist people as part of them so that you can be there for 12 hours?
Well, yes and no. Okay. I think that would possibly make a lot of sense, but also they're like, this place is completely deserted and we just killed the one probe that we saw.
Fair. That's
so
fair.
You know, I don't get the feeling that the other team doesn't want to stay because they're worried about something happening. They just want to stay because they're bored mindless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I feel like my instinct would be like, 2 days is too long. You get 12 hours and then you come the fuck home.
Well, you check in. You check in every 6 hours.
That's true.
And etc. So but as they hang up, Jack hangs back with Hammond and is like, could you do me a solid, Hammond, sir? And Hammond's way ahead of him. He's like, I will gladly send you on a mission so you can get away from him.
Yep.
And has Jack expressed his deep and unyielding love of Hammond anytime recently?
I do love that.
And then as Emmett summons Hammond through Rundell, Hammond's like, I wish I could go with you. Godspeed.
Please take me with you. Any other misery is better than this misery.
In Hammond's office, Emmett wants more access, and Hammond is like, no, that's not happening. He's like, again, I've told you the letter of the orders I have. I am not giving you any leeway.
No. And I'm not the person to ask for more.
And Emmett's like, what about Colonel O'Neill? And Hammond's like, he's unavailable. Sorry.
Gotta go bite.
Sucks to be you. They're both super annoyed and super pissed at each other. And Hammond is like, I'm not resisting you. I'm following orders.
Right. Which he is. He
is. He's being just very stickler.
He's just not making it easy on it. Yeah.
Because he has a very good point. Hammond does. Cameras don't just record things.
Right.
It's the Heisenberg uncertainty principle of cameras. They don't just record things. They change what they record simply by being there.
That's true.
People's actions change if they know they're being recorded.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to put his people through a microscope. Like, they deserve better than that. This job is hard enough on everyone. They don't need to be put under this constant scrutiny. And Emmett's like, but maybe it should be. You know, this is no different than journalists being embedded while people are under fire. Like, what's seen and what's heard, like, that is the truth, and people deserve to see that truth.
Right, right. Both
sides, hyper valid.
Super heavy points, both very good.
Exactly. So when Hammond is done, and his red phone rings, Emmett purposely misreads the signals and tries to wait around, and Hammond's like,
no,
you can get the fuck out now.
Yeah. Bye. Yeah.
Bye, Felicia. Just eye daggers out of his skull towards Emmett. So Sam is playing with her new broken toy in her lab, and Teal'c hasn't seen anything like this before. Yeah, because it's from a galaxy far, far away.
I like this part because we just had the conversation with Hammond. I hope I can remember the thought again because I did not write it down. But we just had this conversation with Emmett and Hammond where he talks about the cameras change things just by being there.
Yeah.
Now, not 30 seconds before this scene, the last scene, a camera shows up and changes things by being there. And now this camera is here with Teal'c and Sam. And I just love this, like, oh, this is a cool little catch.
And what's fun is they're changing it in 2 different ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
it's just changing things by being there.
Changes. Turn and face the ghoul. Changes. Okay. So Sam asked if Teal'c did his interview yet.
Yeah.
Another Indeed. We got 2 Indeeds in one episode.
Well, you gotta get them all in. Maybe they're Janet's favorite. Who knows?
And Sam is so surprised that Teal'c didn't say much because usually you can't get him to shut up.
So chatty.
And
I would love to see a drunk Teal'c. I know it would take a lot of alcohol, but like I'd love to get to see a
Teal'c. Because there's no Junior now. The filter.
That's what I mean. But this Teal'c that's like, listen. I gotta tell you something.
You know exactly what I imagine is the same thing you're imagining is drunk Karen from My Favorite Murder.
Yeah. Well, I was also thinking like the I love you person.
Oh yeah.
It's like I don't just drunk love you. Like
I really love you.
Like you're my bro, man.
Jack. Listen, Jack.
Just listen.
Come here.
Come here.
Jack. You're my bro, Jack.
Yeah. You're my best.
You're my bro. You're my best bro. You're my bro friend.
Like, I love you, man.
I love you, man. Daniel, come here.
You ascended. Like, I feel like he just loses it.
You have the best hair. Can I just
I know your
glasses
are fake, but it's okay. It's okay.
Can I borrow your glasses? Yeah. Daniel. Can I borrow your glasses? I don't have Junior anymore. My eyes are going back. Can I borrow your glasses?
I love you.
Sam,
can we get a drunk deal?
Sam.
And he's like, does anybody have donuts? Let's go get donuts.
Sam, you're party. You're so party. When are you and Jack gonna kiss? We don't want you to kiss.
You're like my best friend, and I just want you to be happy.
Sam, come here. Can I bench press you?
I bet you can bench press Daniel.
You can totally bench press Daniel.
I bet Daniel and Teal'c have tried to bench press each other. Like, and not like a sexual way.
No, just literally seeing if they could bench each other.
Yeah.
I will say this, knowing them, instead of actually physically bench pressing each other, they just weigh themselves
like,
and then put that much weight
on
the thing to try to bench.
Well, I feel like in my brain, that's how it's like they're having an especially goofy training session. And it's like, how much you weigh? I can bench that. Come here, I'm gonna bench you. And then they're like, Jack, check it out. I can bench him.
Hammond of Texas. Hammond of Texas. Come here. Can I rub your head?
Yeah. You're so shiny.
We have your head so much shinier than mine. We're like the bald buddies. Look at our bald heads.
We once had it wasn't even a party. We just had like people over and everybody just started showing up. And there was like a weird neighbor. It was a friend of mine's apartment. Yeah. And it was one of those like hallways are indoors, so it felt very intimate, like each other. And someone like was touching the hair of one of the other guys, and who ended up marrying one of my best friends. And he's like, the weird dude just touched my hair. We're like, what? We're like, okay, don't worry, he doesn't get to come over anymore. No more weird touching of hair. Got it. Bye.
So the camera guy switches tapes while Emmett asks what off-world activation means. And I'm like, I'm assuming you mean on a more global sense because the term itself kind of explains what's going on. Yeah. Rendell's like, yeah, I'm too smart to be tricked like that. And we come down to the conversation that we started having between us, the beginning of this podcast, about how much you can cover before you start jeopardizing the lives and current missions. But at the same time, Emmett has a very different view of this in terms of what he's doing. He goes, this is a documentary. This is not the nightly news.
Yep.
You're not sending this out in real time on Gould TV.
Right.
You know, he can you know, he's also been denied mission reports of things that have already happened, you know, just because of what have they come close to global annihilation? Like, what exactly? Why can't I film this
together?
He is. He's like, you know, we can film these, and then you can always say no later. But let's at least get everything on film, and the judgment can come later.
Yeah, it's the idea. It's like, you have to give me some access so I can show you what I'm doing here. Yeah, the frustration must be insane.
Because the main thing is this is not going out real time.
Yeah, and also it's offensive because he's like, I have integrity.
Exactly.
Yeah, you just refuse to give me that opportunity to show you that.
So the sound guy tries making a joke here, and it's bad timing.
Yeah, don't do
not
that.
now.
Yeah.
And he does remind Emmett though that he's like, they are also airmen. Like, they're not going to do anything against orders. They're not going to risk course martial. So, you know, if no one can see this until it's all declassified, again, shoot now, ask questions later. Like, Rendell's going, this is not my call. This is above my pay grade. I'm doing what I've been told by Hammond.
Right.
So just then the door behind him opens, and it's Jack, and he's like, fuck, turn around, too late, shit.
No, bye.
And just kind of barrels through, going, briefing.
Yeah.
And Emmett tells Jack that he is going to get him on camera sooner or later, and even if just shots of him walking away. Jack's like, great. Hope you like shots of my ass.
Yeah.
To be fair,
a lot of us do.
I'm okay with that. So they interview Sam again in the control room this time, asking her how she feels about Jack. Interesting subject, Emmett.
Very awkward.
And she goes on about how amazing it is. He's a strong leader. He's given more of himself to this program than any man has given for anything. And they don't really get to spend much time outside work, just because the faculties of the job and their interests are as different as you can get. And Emmett keeps pressing.
But also, Sam
lets him
You can say that you have a boyfriend.
Yeah, you can.
You can say that that's not an option because I'm taken.
But also, again, we have to remember in the timeline of the show,
right?
This was supposed to be. This was meant to go earlier in the season.
Okay, yeah, I can't be that mad, Sam.
Yeah,
yeah, because I was like, you can cut this conversation off real quickly.
Yeah.
By being like, no, I'm taken.
But and I will say this. I will say this as someone who I think is very like Sam in some ways in terms of her personal life. It took me a very, very, very long time to be able to use the term boyfriend with someone.
Yeah, and see,
or to even
with both feet.
Yeah, to even be able to like try to articulate I'm in a relationship, that took me a really long time. So just in that little corner of me that's very like Sam, I can imagine, especially when it's something like this that's official, that's recorded,
right.
I would try to not put any labels on anything.
And my situation is a little different with domestic partner Jesse because we were friends for a while first. Yeah. But day 2, I was like, "Are we in or are we out?" Because I ain't fucking around here. And he's like, "No, I'm in."
Yeah.
And I was like, "All right, cool."
So Emmett keeps pressing.
Yeah.
She's like, "No, the relationship is professional." He keeps pressing, and she's like, "Look, dude, I know what you're trying to get at. I'm not going to deny that there's a bond, but this team is a family.
Yep.
And Jack is my superior officer. End of story."
Yeah, there's nothing more to say here.
And then he interviews Walter.
Oh, I love this one.
"Dear Gary Jones, I love you."
Yeah.
This scene is kind of amazing. He likes, Walter likes to change it up at the end. He says Chevron 7 locked instead of encoded. And also he gets to open and close the iris, and basically that's his job.
Yeah.
I mean, it's super rewarding, and the SG teams really like to know that there's someone, a person on the other side when they send their iris codes. And who's going to open the iris for them.
But I want
a personal feel.
Look, I know this is meant to play as comic relief, but it's so profound.
It really is.
He's like, "Look, I know my job may seem like nothing to you, and yeah, it's a little repetitive, but I am here for these people when there's no other human contact."
And he takes so extreme amounts of pride in what he does.
Right. Yeah, and it's like, yeah, it's supposed to be funny, but like the man is like, if my job doesn't get done, people's lives can be on the line.
And again, I'm going to chalk it up to the magic and the spark of Gary Jones. He can play both those sides.
It's just this idea of understanding that there is a greater machine and I'm part of it.
Exactly.
And if I don't work well, then this whole thing can fall apart. So it's like he doesn't, there's no sense of I'm not important here.
Yeah.
He's very aware of how important he is there, which is a testament to one, Walter, but also to the type of leadership that he has.
Well, it's also the fact that I guarantee you, if you asked any of the SG teams, they're also Walter's important to them.
Yeah. You may think he's just a guy who opens the door, but this is far more important.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then Emmett goes to talk to Daniel without the cameras this time.
Mm-hmm.
And Daniel is going through his pack, and Emmett sees Daniel's camera, and he knows there's hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of inscriptions and ruins and boring shit. Sometimes can you point the camera at something interesting?
Yeah.
And he goes,
shooty thing.
Yeah, well, when the shooty things are happening, I'm kind of shootying and running and doing shit, and I can't be filming things for your own gratitude.
Right.
He's like, look, I don't want to put anything in danger. I'm just saying that if the opportunity arises, like, I'm a visual medium person and I can't go take this footage myself. Anything would help.
Yeah.
And clearly Daniel wants to do anything but help this guy out.
Oh.
So Sam calls Daniel in to help translate the probe's interface. And what's annoying Daniel about this whole documentary thing is it's entirely political posturing.
Well, yeah, the motive for getting this thing moving is different than what Emmett's purpose is.
Yes, exactly.
And that's the shitty part.
Yes. And, the outgoing president doesn't want to look bad when this program actually goes public.
Right.
And Emmett apparently asked Sam if she thinks it should go public. And Sam's response was just to babble incoherently.
Yeah.
Which I love.
That's not a thing
But it's also very Sam.
Yeah. I'm just going to keep saying words until some words make sense because
I'm purposely going to technobabble you until you gloss over and ask a different question.
And you go, bye.
And they finally get into the probe. Daniel reads some technical stuff, but then also the probe activating a long-range communicator after it just encountered SG-13.
Dun, dun, dun.
So that's bad.
Yeah.
Hammond calls to Colonel Dixon and tells him that the Gould might be on their way and to get home right now.
Yeah.
Roger that. They will be back in 15 minutes. He radios Wells and Bosworth, who looks like they're out doing a walk around the woods, scouting the area.
Yeah.
And just as they're about to head back, Wells is struck in the back by a staff blast and goes down, and Bosworth opens fire standing over Wells to protect him.
Mm-hmm.
Dixon and Belinsky start running. Go.
Get help.
Emmett is now interviewing Janet. And going over the insane shit that Jack and his body have been through the past 7 years. 3 gunshot wounds, 7 staff blast burns, severe hypothermia, nanite aging, shoulder pierce, 3 knee operations, the whole Hathor thing, and an incurable disease.
Yeah, is that all?
It's just in 7 years.
Yeah.
That's not even his Black Ops stuff.
No big deal.
Also, Siler's behind her injured.
Of course he is. But I feel like he just wears his injuries like badges. He's like,
does.
you want to know how I did that?
Yep.
Stuff with the blast.
I asked for it, too.
Yeah.
So every day, she says, you never know what's going to happen. The whole upside is that they're on the brink of understanding so much more about medicine, who we are, where we come from, how we fit into the grand scheme of things. And sort of near the end of her going on, an off-world activation ends their interview.
Yeah.
And he tells the crew to bugger off. Yep. He's enamored, as everyone is, of Janet, and asks her to lunch. And she's also kind of adorably, she's like alpha in charge, except like letting him flirt.
Yeah, like this is fine. I'm letting you.
I will let. I'm interested in reading your brochure.
Yeah.
It's all super awkward, but in a great way.
Yeah.
So Belinsky is back in the briefing room talking to Hammond, and Jack comes in and wants to know how many Jaffa there are. Belinsky's not sure. Maybe 6. Dixon and the other guy, Bosworth, are holding their position, protecting Wells at this point. The Jaffa came by ship, and SG-3 is protecting the gate.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as he hears that the gate is in our hands, Jack is already out the door when Hammond tells him to take SG-5 and 7 and Janet. And yes, it sounds like an ambush. But there's nothing
what's
they can
the
do.
other option?
Yeah. There's nothing else to do right now.
Yeah.
So in the infirmary room, or in the commissary, to say, Emmett is flirting with Janet.
Oh, yeah. He's flirting hard.
He's flirting real hard.
And I'm really glad that they addressed this, because this is when I started
You
yelling.
were yelling at the screen. You have a wedding ring.
I was so mad.
Yeah.
I was like, you're wearing a wedding ring. You gross human.
And then
Guys, can we talk about how I clearly am very passionate about cheating?
Yes.
And not cheating? Yikes. Apparently it's a big-ass deal to me.
Janet also mentioned, and very early on, she goes, so what's up with that ring you're wearing?
Yeah.
His wife died a few years ago, so he wears it for sentimental reasons.
Fair.
And so Janet's like, okay, that story checks. I'm open to flirting again.
Yeah.
And
you've passed the next security. you've qualified for the next lap of this race.
Exactly. Yeah. And she asked her about her personal life. She does not have one.
She's like, no.
All her free time is spent with her daughter. She's adopted. There is no husband. I am flying solo as well.
She's like, I am mom and doctor. Like, that is my life.
That is my life. And you'd be lucky to have me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very, very cute interaction. They're both openly flirting now.
Yeah.
And someone comes to call Janet away, which we know is for the rescue mission. So Rundell and the crew are in the hallway as SG-1 runs down, ready for the mission, geared up, action hat and action do-rag in tow. Daniel and Sam both blame themselves in different ways. Jack is like, none of that shit matters now. Yeah. And the crew stares at them as they head off.
And it's true, it doesn't matter. Like, this is where we are.
And the end of episode 1.
Bad time's about to happen. Okay.
Do we want to just head into episode 2 as if there's one story? Or do you want to pause here and reflect on anything?
I want to take a second
to
focus on, we still aren't sure. We know that Emmett's making a lot of noise and saying, why don't you trust me? Why don't you trust me? But we have actually yet to see if we can.
We haven't yet to
see any proof. This episode seems to focus a lot on just the build-up. Build-up, including the sense of that we end here with the guilt of, like, we've made this mistake. Sam's like, I didn't see this coming. Daniel didn't see it coming. The Joe Kennedy Jr. kid blames himself. All these things, but it's like, this is where we are now. Yeah. We're just in this weird space.
And it's also one of those things where, in all those decisions that led up to this, they're not decisions that you would necessarily change if this situation happened again. Yeah. Like, they're just, it was roll of the dice shitty things that happened.
It's this idea of, like, nobody did anything wrong.
No.
This is just the situation.
It's just how things roll.
Yeah. But that's it. That's all I got. Because really everything happens.
Everything happens here. So episode 2 starts with Rundell starting to get on their side, maybe the slightest little tiny bit. And explain to Emmett that the crew got bumped from getting their shots of the gate for B-roll since SG-1 had to head out in full gear. It was something big, but something big happens around here all the time.
Right.
So Emmett takes his crew and runs after another team rushing towards the gate, which includes Janet. He's very frustrated because he can't figure out what's going on, and this is the stuff he wants to be filming.
Right. He wants to know. He wants to be able to tell the story of these people.
He's trying to tell a story, but the biggest aspect that will help him tell the story, he's being denied access to because, as Rundell says, he's not authorized to know it.
Right. There's just so much. He's just not allowed anything.
He's trying to make a film with both hands tied behind his back.
Yes. Yeah.
So, and that is credits for episode 2. So when we come back, we see more of Sam's interview. This time with fancier shots of asking questions cut in, which is a thing that happens in these types of documentaries all the time. He tries pressing her on how the public will react when they discover the whole galactic war being waged without their knowledge thing. And she admits, she's like, that's not my call to make. That's not for me to say.
Yeah. This is the part where she babbles.
She does. But I can feel her. She's like, I'm not the person in charge of me making those decisions. I don't get to make that decision.
I don't ask that question because it's not my place to ask it.
So we cut to the editing room, and my mind cringes on having to edit in those small little tiny screens.
Oh, God. I remember seeing them, though.
And I can't quite place which version of Premiere this is, but it's definitely Premiere.
Yeah, it's like
it's on a Mac. It's on a Mac OS.
It's a long one. Well, I mean, what is it? 2004.
2004, whatever version of Adobe was out then.
Was it called Premiere then? What was it back then?
I thought it was still Premiere back then. I mean, I didn't start using Premiere until a few years after that, so I can't really say.
I'm gonna look it up.
You look it up. Maybe I was using Premiere-ish then.
I don't know.
I know I wasn't using Final Cut.
I am going to look it up.
Okay.
It first launched in 2003.
Yeah.
It's Adobe Premiere Pro is a successor of Adobe Premiere, first launched in 1991.
Okay, so yeah, it's early Premiere, and I knew that for sure because it wasn't Final Cut or anything like that.
So yeah, in 2003 they had the Pro version.
I mean, a lot of the aspects of it are very Premiere-ish. I mean, it hurt my design heart a little bit. So Emmett wants that whole question edited out. He doesn't want to seem like he's pushing her in any way. He'll find a better way of asking the question. You know, if he finds a better way of him asking the question about how Sam thinks the world's going to react. And in the end, she hopes that people will understand ultimately why it was kept secret for so long and appreciate that everything the SGC has been doing. And yeah, keeping secrets like these are the hardest things about what they do around here. And I think that's very poignant, that's the hardest thing for them to do around there.
Is doing all this without being able to share any of it. Yeah. This is where we start to realize that, okay, Bergman is a good dude. Yeah. Emmett is a good dude. He's like, I don't want to make them look like this. Yeah. I want to make them look bad. I want to make them look honest and real.
So
who they are.
Sometimes she looks around on what's happening on Earth, and it makes her want to scream. And she wants to tell people that there's so much bigger things going on than what they think. And I'm like, just stab me in the heart a little bit more, Sam.
Yeah.
So then we get Daniel answering questions, sort of in that same realm, but slightly different. He talks about how people out there on other planets are no less human than they are. Their freedom means no less than ours means to us. And when Emmett asks if the people on Earth are entitled to their truth, Daniel's like, you can't handle the truth. I mean, he points to the camera, he's like, is this what this documentary is about? Truth?
Yeah, because it doesn't feel like truths.
So we go back and forth with them editing the video, and I love this very sort of real dialogue that Emmett has with how it's being edited and the questions being asked. And this is where you really, at least on the viewer's end, realize that, like, Emmett is a warrior for truth.
Yeah, and they do this great balance of, yes, he is a good guy. He's looking for truth, but that doesn't mean he doesn't want a good story.
No, exactly.
Because he's also like, rearrange this here, put this here. I want this to come across.
Because finding the truth in a story and finding a good story are not mutually exclusive things.
Right.
Finding a good story is what will make people interested in the truth of the story.
Otherwise, if no one's listening, who cares?
If a tree falls in the forest and no one's there to hear it, then did it make a sound?
Yeah.
If a Gould falls on the planet and no one there was there to see,
if a Stargate is buried on a planet and nobody discovered the planet, well, I'm done.
In the end, Emmett is just really, really frustrated because he wants better footage to tell the story, like for good or for bad. The idea, the idea that this makes the lunar landing look like we were testing our toes in the ocean, and they don't have the shot of Shepard playing golf on the moon. This is boring to him.
Yeah, that's true.
By the way, that was Apollo 14. Shepard got to be the first American in space and the 5th and oldest human to walk on the moon.
Oh.
And I think what is the most beautiful transition in the entire 2-part episode, we cut from Emmett saying how boring his footage is and how he just wants something real to the middle of one of the most epic battle sequences.
Storming the beaches of Normandy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, this planet is P3X666.
That's not a good sign. We should have known.
Fire rains down from above in a massive firefight. It is way more than 6 Jaffa.
It's a lot.
This is a battle scene for the ages, and I think this is one of the most impressive battle scenes they've done.
And that suspected ambush is definitely
definitely an ambush. And they, again, in the commentary, they talked about how they put so much power physical and mental and everything into this battle sequence. And it really is not the longest battle sequence we've had in the show. It's actually fairly short, but it reverberates so much through the episode.
There's just so much. Yes. It's just the influence of it is big.
And we hear over the radio that they're not going to be able to hold the gate for much longer, SG3. And Jack's like, well, I mean, screw that. We're not going to be able to hold anything for much longer.
Yeah, at this point, we just want to be alive.
Janet calls over to the radio that she needs more time. She can't move wells yet.
This scene hurts, like, knowing what happens later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure Dixon wishes he had Vera right now. So Jack sees that some of the Jaffa are trying to get around them to a surprise attack. And as he gets up to go after them, he gets just a staff weapon blast, slow motion, directly in the gut region.
We know it's bad because it's in slow motion.
It's in slow motion. All of the noise bleeds out. Time slows. As he falls, we see an Elkesh fly overhead and just a really beautiful juxtaposition, dropping explosions. We see everyone reacting to this. We see Carter yelling. And she makes her way over to try to check if he's even still alive right now.
Good. It's not good.
And this is the part that is leading you to, and here's the other thing. They lead you to think in this episode, maybe too heavy-handedly, maybe not, to think that Jack is the one that died.
Yeah.
But then also go back and think about the fact that they thought that this was their last season and they only had a couple episodes left.
Right.
This is a show, and knowing, I think if they were pretty certain that this was the end of the show, I would not have put them past them and even RDA saying, do this to kill Jack off here.
Yeah, he needs to be done.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because Jack doesn't, it's okay if Jack doesn't go into retirement. I can see him retired, but he can't see himself ever retiring. Yeah. He already tried that once. It didn't go very well. That's true. Yeah.
It's the same thing
as
with
much
Teal'c.
as he constantly wants to go fishing. Yeah, for Teal'c, definitely the most honorable way to go would be in battle.
But, it's one of those where if Jack is going to go out, he's going to go out saving other people of his team. So, it's one of those interesting things where you go, what could have been? And if they had been more confident that this would have been the end of Stargate at the end of the season, would that may have been more of a conversation to be had? Yeah,
where they take him out. It could have been. But I also wonder, I don't think you take him and Janet out in the same episode.
No, instead of Janet.
That's fair.
Instead of Janet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, back in the gate room at the same time, Walter is showing Emmett around the gate. And then go, look, here's the 50 caliber guns, and here's the Space Invaders cabinet.
Yeah.
The manual override for the Iris.
I love how nervous he's like about, just kidding, it's not really Space Invaders.
Well, actually, apparently that is based off a note they actually got from the Air Force about some scene at some point about how it's like, no, airmen on duty would never play games. And it was like, we'll take it seriously.
But I love that it makes Walter come across as like, hey, I take this job for
real. Oh, yeah.
Like,
for sure.
I was trying to crack a joke, but also I don't want to crack a joke because I take my job really seriously.
Just then the gate starts up and Rendell tells them they have to go. Emmett gives no fucks and tells them to keep recording.
Yeah.
Hammond
At this point, he's frustrated. He's just done.
Hammond lays the law down with his tone for the control room. Get out now. You can hear Sam's radio that they have casualties. They're coming in hot. And we see from the camera's view as Emmett tries to hold it down and record as they leave, and try to sync some footage of someone on a stretcher coming through the gate. And Rendell's
also, if you're
like,
gonna try to fake record, then cover the light.
Yeah.
Cover the light.
To be fair, I'm pretty sure most don't have a giant red light that turns on. I'm pretty sure that's mainly for the...
Well, a lot of the TV ones do. Because it's like red light means recording.
Yeah.
But... a little bit of duct tape never hurt nobody.
So Emmett and his crew spot Sam walking down the hallway, and they go to confront her.
This part sucks.
Amanda Tapping, why must you put us in tears? He heard someone was injured, and she is in tears. And I think the most emotional that we've ever seen her. She yells at them to shut that damn thing off.
And she's in like real tears. Like she's in like ugly cry tears.
She's in legit ugly cry tears.
That's when I was like, Jack's fucking dead. They killed Jack. And I'm yelling at a Nixie.
She is yelling at me, also in tears.
I was like, this is not okay.
It's the first sign that something very serious has happened and we may have lost a member of this family.
Fuck.
As he leaves, the camera guy turns the camera off and sort of Emmett lets his own emotions out here. Mm-hmm. The fact that he knows what he's doing, that these people are risking their lives for us, and I want to see what's going on, even if they don't want me to see it.
Yeah.
Because protecting and defending secrecy, the concept of defending secrecy itself is the work of Mao and of Stalin, of secret police. And when you force the press into the cold, all you will get is lies and innuendo, and nothing is worse for a free society than a press that is in service to the military and politicians.
Let's take a moment and just let that sink in, and then we can continue.
So he tells, like, guys, this is Nixie almost getting emotional.
Yeah.
And he tells the cameraman that he turns the camera off when he says to turn it off. And he doesn't give a damn what his military crew, this military around him, thinks of him. Mm-hmm. That they think they serve the people. The military thinks they serve the people. He goes, I serve the people.
Yeah.
So obviously the main beauty, this main heartbreaker in this episode is Janet and the loss of Janet. And the sacrifice not just the armed services make, but all law enforcement officers, CIA, FBI, sheriffs, cops, emergency crews, everyone.
There's no doubt.
There's
no argument.
There's absolutely none. But at the same time, I think, speaking for me, and I'm assuming for you as well, this touches this other spot that is extremely close to our hearts, which is of the press, of journalism and its place in the world. And I recently watched The Post.
Okay.
Which is about the reporting of the Pentagon Papers.
Yeah.
If you haven't watched this film, please do. It is stunning. There are so many heavyweights in this movie. It is mind-blowing. And there is this line that struck me so hard that after they said, I had to pause the movie, and it happens at the end. But it's from Judge Hugo Black, who wrote the affirmative majority in the 6-3 SCOTUS decision that ruled for the press in this case.
Yeah.
And it says, quote, in the First Amendment, the founding fathers gave the free press the protection it must have to fulfill its essential role in our democracy. The press was to serve the governed, not the governors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that the press is to serve the governed, not the governors, is, I think, a line that struck me so hard. And I also watched The Post right after we watched Heroes for the first time.
Yeah.
I was like, let's just punch all of Nixie's hearts at once.
To look at this phrase from all the angles.
Yes.
Because I think it's fair to say that media has become more than just journalists.
It is.
There's things out there that are media that also have forgotten this.
Yes.
That the press is there to serve the people.
The people. It is
not to serve your money.
No.
Or your boss.
No.
You're there to serve the people, which is shitty. Yeah. I understand. It's shitty to put someone in that position and to put blame on them. But it's important to see it from that angle as well as from the angle of, hey, we're not here to serve politicians. No. We're also not here to serve the money.
No.
We're here to serve the people.
Exactly.
And it's important for us as media, as journalists, to remember that.
To let the people make their own decisions, to make their own minds, to get the facts, and to not necessarily report what you want me to report.
Yeah.
But to report what I see as a first-person viewer to this. And to let more people into the room where it happens.
Yeah, and it's also I like to use this food analogy because I like food.
I like food,
but it's like, look, people want to eat McDonald's every day because it tastes good.
Yeah,
but it doesn't mean it's the right thing to feed them.
No,
so we can't feed the people McDonald's every fucking day.
No.
Sometimes you're gonna eat a Brussels sprout and it's gonna taste like shit.
But you're gonna have to eat it.
And that's what we gotta do. We can't just give the people what they want.
Yes.
And it's okay. And it sucks because we don't live in a world where that's rewarded.
No.
We live in a world where
Instant gratification. If I want McDonald's, I get McDonald's.
The ratings are going to be the people that give you what you want to hear. Yeah. The echo chambers are the ones that are the loudest.
Exactly.
And it sucks because how do you move through that? How do you make that change? There's plenty of shows out there that nobody's watching.
That are some of the most profound reporting in the world, but it's because they don't have to get the same money to make the business work. Right.
So I feel Emmett's frustration.
And exactly, this is what Emmett's going through the entire episode. Like he's never going to film something that's going to compromise people, but he's also not here to make the film that Hammond wants him to make.
Yep. It can't be that. It can't be that.
He's here to show the people what's going on in this place.
Yep.
And honestly, it's for better or for worse. Obviously, we think the best of the Stargate.
Right.
Like, and I think they do. I think the Stargate is 98% positive things to show.
But there's some shitty things that have happened.
Exactly. So Hammond runs a tight ship. Like this, whatever documentary and whatever he's able to film is never going to shine negatively on the SGC, but he's looking for the truth either way. And journalism in its pure ideal form is showing the public and letting them making decision on its own.
Yeah.
It's being non-biased.
Yeah. Showing the truth.
And like the truth does not always happen to have two sides to it. If there's no negative things going on at the SGC, he's not going to make things up.
Right.
But the truth does not have always two sides. You can just show what's going on and people will make the decision.
And sometimes the truth will be boring.
The truth sometimes is the most boring thing that you could possibly dream of.
But it's still be what we report.
Exactly. And Emmett wants to film all of this and both the heroism of what Janet did in simply doing her job, but also the pain, the sheer raw pain that Sam is showing because of what happened when they came home without Janet.
Yeah, that part. Not great.
Oh, God, high horse. Okay.
Deep breath.
Deep breath. I'm going to need a drink. Oh, dear God.
Salud.
Cilantro. Okay.
And we're back. Ooh, is that getting stronger?
I think it's getting stronger.
Yowza.
I think this is what happens when I let my emotions out of the small box of my heart that I keep them in.
Yeah. You know what? Your emotions are like Stormy on a leash when there's a squirrel. It's like at some point the rest of your body went, fuck it, chase the squirrel.
It's like I don't always let them out, but when they are, they just take over my whole body. Okay. In the commissary later, we see there are janitors at the SGC. I mean, is that basically the coolest janitor's job that exists?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but camera guy and soundman come in. They got some scuttlebutt. There are multiple injuries. 2 people were hit with staff weapons, and the basic plot of the planet side of the last episode. And there was 1 casualty, which, to be fair, casualty does not mean someone died, but Emmett's going to assume that, rightly so. And Emmett knows, because Emmett knows Sam's not going to break down if it was just anyone.
Right. He's smart enough to have figured that out.
And Rendell comes in, and all he knows is Jack is on a gurney and not moving. Shit. Rendell then brings Woolsey into Hammond's office. Yeah, and without introductions, hands him a folder. The folders from Kinsey. As the chairman of the Intelligence Oversight Committee, he asked that Woolsey review Hammond's choice of trying to rescue SG-13, which I believe slightly different name, but if it's the same committee I'm thinking of, the real ones currently led by Senator Richard Burr. So I'm more saying it's weird because we see Kinsey within this thing to realize that Kinsey is like a senator.
Yeah.
You'd see him in the same things being interviewed as the other major name. I'm sure he is a majorly named like Grassley and McCain was and Feinstein and sort of
name people know.
Exactly. So Hammond hasn't even written the report of this mission yet, and when he does, it's being reviewed by the Air Force Chief of Staff and by the President. So I don't know how you expect to be doing an investigation on this thing yet. But Woolsey's here for more than just this one mission. He's starting an investigation into the SGC's strategic policy that the committee is preparing for the president. He has a number of interviews that he will be conducting. He has materials he needs. He expects full cooperation, and with that, he leaves. Well, fuck.
Good times, because it's not enough to handle right now.
Also, Hammond's left-handed.
I didn't catch that.
I don't know if I've mentioned that before, but every time I see it, I'm like, Hammond's left-handed.
Yeah.
So Hammond goes to talk with Sam, asking how she's holding up. Okay, Hammond.
This one's hard.
I know.
I think
we're not there quite yet.
Okay.
We're not there quite yet. We have business to do first.
Good.
Hammond had her ask Agent Barrett to look into Woolsey. He's clean. He's sharp as a tack. An MBA and an LLB from Harvard. Should have been from Yale. But also, he was also asked to leave the Defense Policy Board since he had some financial ties to a company that was rewarded $800 million contract from the Pentagon. To me, that doesn't seem squeaky clean, but I can also say that it's tenuous enough that could have been written off, like investigated and not been shady. And
I will give a point to Harvard because Harvard Law is a name that we know.
Yeah, I was just saying it should have been Yale because it's Robert Ricardo.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He's been with the NID since then, and she shows him a memo that he wrote for the NID, which will come back later. But for now, just cooperate and tell the truth. There's going to be a memorial service on Wednesday. He was hoping that Sam would say a few words. And then before he leaves, Sam asks how Hammond is holding up. And he pauses for a second to think about that. And this is one of a couple scenes where Donis Davies proves that he is one of the most beautiful, quiet actors you've ever seen. And he goes, well, you tell yourself that every person in your command means the same, much like children, I'm sure. Yeah. You can't help to get closer to some. And I think if they didn't have the positions that they had, there would be a family hug right here.
Yeah. It's incredibly telling that Sam can ask him this question.
Yes.
It's knowing what we know about Sam and the importance of position and respect of this authority and of the chain of command and rank. It says a lot that she even asked him.
And I do wonder if not only, let's be honest, it's SG-1.
Yeah.
So it's different, but also because this is the daughter of one of his best friends.
Right. But just the fact that she asks him and then that he answers honestly.
He answers honestly, and he answers in a way that you can tell both Hammond and Don are a fraction away from breaking.
Yeah.
And I think this is one. Janet is someone who Hammond did shed tears for in private.
Oh yeah. Like Janet is even different than SG-1. Like he loves SG-1 like they're his own children. But something about Janet to me feels like
it's like a rock. Equal. Yeah, it's like a right hand.
Yeah. She different than like the team that goes off. Yeah. It's like the kids who go and storm the castle. Yeah. She's there.
This is mom.
Yeah.
If dad.
Yeah, if he's dad, then she's mom.
Yeah.
Whew.
And Don puts us all basically in tears in this moment.
Yeah. Okay.
So then we cut to what is basically an interrogation room. Woolsey sets up his recorders, and we see him interviewing people interchangeably in a scene that is beautifully done, beautifully filmed and executed. Starting with Sam, none of these people give any fucks.
No.
They have no fucks to give.
They don't need to be here. They don't want to be here. They've experienced so much. There's no room for feeling anything.
They are raw electrical energy right now.
Yeah, and this is a great place for them to let off.
Woolsey says that the stakes around here are always high, but in this case, they lost someone of great value to the program. And she's like, do you not think that we don't know that?
Yeah, fuck you if you think you understand this better than we do.
And so we cut to Daniel, and he's being questioned why Daniel thought it was safe for SG-13 to remain on the planet. And he's like, first of all, that wasn't my call.
Right.
Second of all, this is what we do.
Yeah. Literally, this is our job.
And Woolsey goes, what, make bad decisions? And Daniel's like, fuck you.
Yeah.
He goes, playing Monday morning quarterback on this stuff is really easy. But if we had found powerful weapons on those ruins, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now.
Right.
And he's like, well, I mean, we didn't, and we are.
Yeah.
And Sam personally doesn't care if there's weapons there. You don't leave people behind. It's the end of the story.
Yeah, this is how the job works.
Woolsey also reminds her that she's been on missions herself where she knows that there's no backup, that there's always a possibility of going through the gate, and like it or not, there are situations where one human being is considered an acceptable loss. She's like, yeah, that wasn't this though.
That's not what this
was.
That's
a completely different story and concept. You know, and it wasn't dumb luck that we didn't lose more people. It was skill, training, and fortitude.
Yeah.
So don't come in here thinking like you know things when you're not here.
Don't come in here acting like you would have made a different or better decision in the moment.
This is our house.
Yeah.
This is our house.
And we know what we're doing. You can't shake us into thinking that we did something wrong. We did what the fucking thing was to do.
So then we cut to Teal'c.
Yeah.
Who says nothing.
Yeah, because that's what Teal'c do.
And Woolsey presses the fact that he will either talk to him now or he will have him jailed until he does. But we see that
I'm allergic to feelings.
He's not talking to Teal'c. He's talking to Daniel. And Daniel, remember how we love Daniel so much in this episode?
Yeah. I love this.
With all of the disdain and the fuck you that he can muster, he just picks up the mic to make sure that Woolsey can hear him real clear. Calls his bluff and says, you can fire me, you can throw me in jail, you can do what you want. Just nopes out of there.
Yep. Done. Bye.
It's so good.
Yeah. Because really at that point, if that's what it took, then Daniel would be like, fuck this.
Yeah.
I'm out. I'm done. If this is how this is going to be run, then I don't want to be part of it.
This is where I live now.
Yeah.
This is where I live.
With the non-fucks of the world per town.
So Daniel is taking his anger out on his keyboard. So and Emmett comes to talk to him. This is not a good time for Daniel. Emmett just wants some confirmation about what he's been hearing. And he sees Daniel.
I will say that Emmett made a good call in appealing to Daniel.
Yes.
As rough as this is.
As rough as this is, and I think there's a cynical side of you that can say that what Emmett is going to do is just trying to get information. But I think he is being honest here that this is what he truly.
Well, I think if you asked Emmett, he'd say, "I do want to get information." He does. There's no hiding that's a motive.
But but Emmett's not using Daniel's emotions in like a nefarious way. He's going, "Let me tell you why I want this."
Yeah.
So we get a flashback to Wells in the forest. Janet and Daniel arrive. Daniel is the perfect triage nurse for Janet in a situation like this. I actually think that I can imagine he took some lessons from Janet.
Oh, yeah.
For cases specifically like this.
Well, if you think about it, if it's just the four in the team, he would be the guy who would take up that mantle.
So Wells fears he's going to die.
So backup cleric.
Not if Janet has anything to do with it. Ooh, I like backup cleric. That's a good band name. So they flip him over as Janet goes to work, and Daniel tries to distract him, talking, your wife is pregnant and things like this. Yeah. And he cries out in just sheer pain. And these whole scenes with this actor, I don't know where he found like the strength to keep screaming out like this because it is painful to watch.
This was one of those tough ones that was hard to watch this morning as I was thinking about Veterans Day and about the things that people had to do and still have to do in situations where it's like, look, this is the only way to fix you. Yeah. There's no pain meds here. Nope. There's no surgery center.
No.
We're a little bit fucked. And then I think of the situations where they were like, the best we can do is just drug you up.
Well, and it's also just the mental fortitude that these people who are in triage situations where you don't have any meds to hear that screaming and to know that I know this hurts and you're screaming and you feel like I'm killing you right now, but this is actually trying to save you, and to keep going when you hear someone screaming like that.
And know that this is the only way through.
So, and Janet, although Janet, to her credit, is like, if you felt it, that's good.
Yeah, it means you're alive.
If you feel it, you're still alive.
It's such a great, it works there in the practicality of it, but it's such a great thought that I've actually used before.
Yeah, I've heard you.
Where it's like, I feel like shit. Emotionally, physically, everything hurts and I want to die. But the fact that it hurts means I'm not dead.
Yep.
Oh, I'm fine. I'm not crying.
You know that comic with the guy in the room that's on fire?
Yep, this is fine.
This is fine. So then we hear the earlier radio conversation that they can't hold the gate, and Janet replies that they can't move Wells yet.
Yeah.
So Wells like, go on without me. They're like, we're not.
That's not
happening. And he's extremely, as I think anyone would be, extremely fatalistic right now. About not being able to see his son. He just wants Daniel to relay a message to his wife, and Daniel takes out his camera after a nod from Janet. That nod of he may not see his wife and his newborn kid. Yeah. Back in the present, Daniel grabs the camera and is basically just, again, fuck off.
Yeah.
And is actually getting physically aggressive in a way that we don't see Daniel use his size very often. Like, Daniel is a tall dude.
Yeah.
So, and we don't see him using that physical presence very often this way.
And run while you talk.
And as Emmett tells Daniel about Martin Kristofsky, Daniel doesn't want to hear any of this. I looked it up. Pretty sure he was made up for the show. But there is a very famous photo that's, I think, similar in feeling, and it may have been half the inspiration. It doesn't show anyone dying, but there's a photo by Art Greenspun. That's a great Times article about this called "The Best Photo from Vietnam: One Photographer's Defining Image of War." Art himself has this amazing life. A week after the photo was taken, he was hit in the face by a spent shell. When he came home, he went to work for the New York Times, then went into finance, and then at 69, got his master's in clinical social work and went on to help veterans recover and deal with PTSD.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a fucking dude.
And so this image is there's one soldier who is on the ground in the jungle, very injured, this very pained face, and you have someone else who's waving, who his arms are sort of flung up. It almost looks, when you first see it, like he was just shot. But he's actually trying to wave a med helicopter.
Wow.
And so it's this very striking, very contrasty black and white photo. And he tells in this article about how he was like, I don't even know if I have a shutter speed that's going to capture this. He got like 3 shots off, and sort of the process of all these people he ran across before he could take this photo.
Wow.
Also, Daniel still has Jonas's fish.
That's really sweet. I didn't catch that. There's so much emotion in this.
I know. Martin's story is so beautifully written, and Saul delivers it so poignantly. And the story is about this photo. That's the moment a soldier saved his life, was shot in the head and killed. And I don't, not quite yet, but you can tell this gets under Daniel's skin and starts to mull there.
Yeah, because he's not raw.
Starts marinating.
And Daniel's like spidey senses kick in. Like, it's right. Daniel's the one person who's going to be the fastest to sort of turn around and to absorb that, to be able to process that.
And Emmett says that if Daniel did get something on tape, nothing's going to change what happens, but sharing it may change how Daniel feels about it.
And I want to sit on this for a minute.
Yes.
I actually have that line specifically hits a note that's been very raw for me lately, and I'll tell you why. So again, he says, nothing can change what has happened. What can change is how you feel about it. So I recently started listening to a podcast, and I just lost the name of it, but it is the daughter of the Happy Face Killer.
Oh,
it's
yes.
actually called Happy Face.
You told me about that one.
So it's this woman who is now in her 30s. Her dad is a guy who killed a lot of women in the 90s.
The Happy Face Killer.
Male, the Happy Face Killer. There, in one of the recent episodes, she meets the son of the last woman he killed.
Yeah. And
it's a 2-part episode. And these incredible things happen where she's like, I'm really scared. I don't know what he's going to do. I don't know if he's angry at me. Because in her mind, it's her dad. So she feels this sense of guilt.
Yeah.
And it's this incredible episode, and this incredible, you hear the anger in this man's voice about his mom being dead, and you hear the amount of hurt. But he says to her, he goes, look, you cannot change what your dad did.
Yeah.
He killed my mom.
Yeah.
And that is fucking shitty.
Yeah.
But you didn't do it. And you can choose to sit and live in this ugliness of what your dad did, or you can choose to have your own life.
Yeah.
And it hits the same note.
Yeah.
And it's this idea that sometimes we get in our own heads and we decide that this is what happened, and now we have to like absorb it. And
it's almost like we have to flog ourselves for
reasons
that are on us.
Yeah, and it's like you can decide to not feel this way about this thing.
Yeah.
You can decide to feel differently and take back this control of your life.
Mm-hmm.
So from coming from very different angles, I felt like that message came to me.
It is. It's the same concept.
Shit.
It's the same concept.
Yeah.
Daniel can hold on to this and basically let it weigh down his soul.
Yeah.
And
or die.
See it as one of my best friends getting killed. Yeah. Or you can see it as one of my best friends saving someone.
Yeah, and at the risk of getting heavier in an already heavy episode, what a fucking lesson to teach us.
Yeah.
It's our choice.
It's our choice.
It's my choice. Wow. Okay.
Okay, so it's Hammond's time to talk to Woolsey, and he just shows up, hands him his written testimony, his mission report, kill 2 birds with 1 stone. And Woolsey's like, okay, I'm done. I'm going to give my preliminary report to the president by the end of the week.
Yep.
And we learn what the memo was that Sam found.
Uh-huh.
And you understand why Hammond is even more pissed than he was when he first met Woolsey.
Yeah.
That memo is about the economics of the SGC. And he put a monetary value on the SGT members.
Uh-huh.
Woolsey defends his memo. And while I don't agree with the heart of it, he's like, look, this wasn't putting value on the lives. It was looking at cold, hard numbers at how much it costs to train them and putting the money into the SGC. If he made some correlation at the end of the report, he shouldn't have. But I can see how you would have a report on the economics.
This is what things cost.
Exactly.
The breakdown of what everything is costing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I have a hunch that he made an analogy at the end he shouldn't have that ruins the entire color of this memo. He thinks, Woolsey thinks it's reprehensible that the public is paying tax dollars to wage a war that they know nothing about. And they're just, both of them are toe-to-toe. They're literally standing up, staring at each other, leaning on the table. Neither one of them is going to budge.
Yeah.
Hammond reminds him that Woolsey is the one suggesting that sending a rescue team worth $27 million to save the lives of 1 is a bad business decision.
Fuck.
And that he wouldn't do this if this wasn't all classified.
Yep.
And he's like, look, the documentary crew is here right now. Why don't we go talk to them?
Yeah.
And give them the truth as Woolsey sees it, Hammond says.
Yeah.
But Woolsey reminds him that the memo is classified. This investigation itself is classified. And if you breathe one single word of it, I will put you away in a cold, dark place for the rest of time. And he leaves.
Yikes.
And Hammond, he's a mixture of so frustrated he could shake and punch a wall and also a bit taken aback.
Yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot to take in right now.
And John plays it very well.
Yep.
So this is the state that Hammond's in when Rendell finds him in the hallway and says he found Emmett sneaking around the infirmary. Hammond's like, get his ass out of here. I am done.
Yeah.
None of this. I'm just
He's
done.
Just pissed.
Yeah. And when Dell passed that message on to Emmett, it does not go well. Emmett tries to say something to Hammond.
Thank God for Emmett and his own willingness to stand up to Hammond. Because really at this point, they're the best allies that they have. Each other.
He comes in without even knocking on the door. Mm-hmm. Hammond's like, you have 1 hour to get off my base.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And out of my sight forever. And he's like, you can call whoever you want on the payphone upstairs. No, you can't use my red phone, you putz. This is not a state you want to cross Hammond in.
Mm-hmm.
And Emmett, for his thing, backs down, but not before he slams the door.
Yeah.
And at this point, there's been some maneuvering scenes behind. Hammond shows up to Dana's office, and he's been ordered to hand over the tape. He's not happy about it. The tape can disappear, but at the same time, he's like, with the NID now looking at us and this investigation going on,
mm-hmm.
he's been rethinking this, and maybe having some report beyond the official one might be good.
Yeah.
Having some third party that it's not just a he said, she said.
Yeah.
And right now, Emmett is all there is. Trust him or not, he's all we got.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the only thing left that we can possibly count on.
And then we see Daniel slamming the tape down on the briefing room and leaving without a word.
Oh, this part's hard. Okay. We're
going to make it through.
Okay.
He takes it to the editing room and they put it in. Rendell comes in at the same time, saying that the preliminary mission report has been declassified.
Okay.
On the tape, Wells says Wells tries to say something. He just ends up just screaming in pain.
Mm-hmm.
telling him to shut it off. He doesn't want his wife to see him die. Janet comes in frame telling him he's not going to die. She didn't come all this way out here for nothing. And he's going to get home with his family. And with that, in a moment, a staff blast hits Janet and she falls out of view.
Yep. And
we see the whole edit room shaken by this. Apparently they actually played this on screens for the actors in the room. Because it's done again. The actor who plays Wells pours so much into this. It is so hard to watch.
Yeah, and you're so caught up in that. You're so invested that you don't have anything left. You don't have any defenses when Janet falls.
No.
Because you're already down.
And we see in Daniel's video, Janet down, her wound still smoking, and Daniel screaming that they need a medic.
Which that is also...
That's, I think, that's a part that's too much to hear because we know Daniel. We know what point the situation has to be. We've never heard Daniel scream in quite that way.
Yeah, in fear. It's just fear.
Yeah. And they turn it off, and Rundell confirms it. Jack and Wells are alive.
Yeah.
Janet didn't make it.
Ain't no party like a Stargate party until the cleric is dead and we're out of potions.
So Sam visits the infirmary. Jack is up and around, but tender. The new vest inserts are the ones that saved his life.
Yay,
didn't help Janet, though.
Nope.
Cassie's strong. She's a survivor. And, she's always going to have the support of this family.
Yeah.
She's never going to be without people. And Sam tells Jack or tries to tell Jack that when he was lying there, she can't even get the words out. She basically just says when you were lying there. And for anything, Jack pulls her into a hug. And it's so beautiful because for that moment, they're just two people. They're not everything else. They're just two people who almost lost each other and lost a good friend.
Fuck rank, fuck all this other things. All we can do is be here for each other right now.
Yeah. And it's really, really, it's a really beautiful. Sam gets two really good hugs in this episode. Yeah. And I feel Sam getting these hugs is like us getting these hugs.
Yeah. Well, and if she needs them the most, this was her best friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, hey, Grace, don't ever go to a planet to save someone.
Got it.
Okay.
Got it.
So, Daniel checks in on Wells in the infirmary.
Wait, who gets to be our teal?
No, I think Nick is the teal.
That's fair.
Because he's the quietest out of all of them.
Fair.
Yeah.
I was going to go with Stormy, but Nick works.
Nick is tall.
He is tall.
And he's the quietest.
He's the one most likely to just sit there and just not talk at the camera.
Yes.
Got it.
For sure. So Daniel goes to check on Wells in the infirmary. He's recovering, and his wife is due in just a few weeks. He should be out of here by then. And Wells feels guilty that Janet died because of him. And Daniel's like, no.
That's not how this works.
In no way is that how it happened. She died because a Jaffa shot her. She was doing her job.
Yeah.
The same way that a Jaffa shot you while you were doing your job.
Yep.
And it's not going to feel right. There's nothing about it that's
not
right.
It's just not.
But it's also not your fault.
Yep.
So in Sam's lab, she's trying to form the words for the memorial for the eulogy. And she's just ugly crying again.
Yeah.
And Teal'c comes in. Sam has to go soon to pick up Cassie, but Teal'c has this piece of paper. He pondered what he would say if he was given the chance to speak at the memorial, and he thinks it would be best coming from Sam.
I love the thought behind this, too, is that Teal'c would have loved to speak at this funeral. Teal'c's hurting, too.
Oh, yeah.
And this is Teal'c's way of healing this. Like, look, I'm not going to sit here and be mad about not being able to speak at my friend's memorial.
But I wrote these words.
But can you say these words for me?
And also, I think because Teal'c, knows Sam enough that knows Sam would be having problems finding words for these. And so he's like, I wrote these. These are for you now.
Here are some words for you. Talk about teamwork.
Yeah. So Emmett was told that Daniel was in the medical isolation room. And it's dark, and there's a single spotlight. And Daniel's in there sitting in the dark corner.
Yeah.
Emmett comes in and puts the tape back on the bed. And he's like, I'm not going to use this.
Shit.
Daniel wants him to, though. and he tells Emmett that this is the room that he died in.
Yeah.
And I wonder if he's visited this room before, if he gets willies going in there or something.
Yeah. Oh, God, that's gotta be weird.
He says Janet didn't sleep for 3 days, doing everything she could.
Yeah.
And he thought about Krasovsky and the story that Emmett told him, and that tape shows what Janet was about.
Yep.
And he wants people to know that, to see that. And he hands the tape back to Emmett, who leaves, leaving Daniel in this room to grieve. And he looks up, and like, I find it interesting, him looking up, going, I guess, is he wondering if Oma is there or something? Maybe,
or maybe he's looking to Janet, looking to spirit, looking to,
So now the memorial service.
Yeah.
Before I get serious, okay, before I get into this, I just want to ask how the flagpole and the podium are upright because they're on a ramp.
Reasons. There's a little wedge underneath them.
Also, the entire team looks amazing dressed up.
They just put a lot of those like wood shims. Just a lot of them.
That's just what caught me.
Yeah.
Okay. So now.
Yeah.
Taps starts playing.
Of course.
Which no song guts me more than Taps, no matter when it's played. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sam steps up and starts to speak. That Janet was extraordinary, kind, funny, talented, courageous. There's nothing that she could think of to say that could do justice to her life. But thankfully, she had some help.
Yeah.
Words alone won't be enough, but there are some names that might. That people talk about those who give their lives for the service of their country. And Janet did, but that's not what her life was about.
Right.
And she starts to read off the names of those people who did not die, but are alive today because of Janet.
Get it, girl. Get it, Janet.
Daniel, Jack, Teal. She continues naming names as this blends into Emmett's video.
So many names. Imagine at the end of your life being able to have a list that long of like, these people exist still because of you.
Yeah.
Damn it.
And it fades into Emmett's video as he narrates over candid shots of the SG teams.
Yeah.
And I do love, even in the commentary again, how they even remark about how sort of patriotically cheesy it is to have the American flag waving over these images. But of course, Hammond's going to laugh that up.
Yeah. It's his favorite part.
It's his favorite part. So Hammond is watching this in his office, and you can see Hammond and Don, they're kind of the same person in my head, fighting back emotions.
Yeah.
And in the end, he thinks that it's a shame that no one will ever see this. And you can feel this like moment of relief from Emmett that Hammond, of all people, likes this final product.
Yeah, that's a big deal. They realize that they're all there for the same purpose.
And Hammond is big enough to admit that he's wrong. And Hammond has written many letters to next of kin, and he feels like just writing that letter is not enough. That they deserve more, and that this is more. And there is one thing that could make this video a difference for the film, and Hammond knows what it is, and he'll take care of it. And apparently Don is already apparently just a ball of emotion at all times. Just as a person. But this scene was apparently extremely difficult for him to get through because he lost friends. You know, he knows people who were lost fighting and in service. So he apparently had a very, very hard time with this last scene, on top of the earlier scenes he had to do for the show. So Daniel knocks on the door to the Wells' house. With a teddy bear.
Let me talk about how cheesy this. Like he takes the bear and does this weird little like, I'm a bear.
But we don't care. We don't care.
Oh my God, you're such a. If anybody else did that, I would cringe.
But because it's Daniel, we don't care.
It's like, of course, yeah.
And he goes in to meet Wells' wife Marcy and their daughter. The sonogram was wrong.
Of course.
And of course.
Of course.
Is Janet.
Of course it is.
It should be no other name.
Janet, the cleric of all that is amazing.
It should be absolutely no other name.
Yeah. If they did not name her Janet, it'd be like, what the fuck? What do you mean? And if you look, like, the wife kind of looks over like, no shit, we named her Janet. Why do you even ask that?
Yeah. And if it was a boy, would it have been Daniel?
It would have been Genito.
Genito? What's something like Jan?
Jan.
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 There you go.
Just call her Jan.
And in the end, Jack sits down with Emmett. And finally, Rendell and Emmett are calling each other by their first names. And they go to Jack. First question.
Whoa, the end!
You can also tell just by this episode how much the production itself and the Air Force worked together and supported each other.
Holy moly, this episode.
So, Grace, where does this go in your top 5 of the season?
It's pretty up there. Like, to the top.
Are we taking over Lifeboat?
We are taking over Lifeboat. I think I'm going to drop Fallout.
Okay.
Yeah.
Keep Birthright?
Yeah.
Okay.
For a little bit.
Yeah, this goes on top of Fragile Balance. It's just, and I think this kicks, this actually kicks, I think, Birthright off my list.
Very nice. Wowza, this episode,
we have 2 indeeds. So that's Heroes.
It's tough. At this point, I feel this sense of relief. Like, it's done.
Yeah.
It sucks. But we've watched it now.
Yeah. We've made it through the recording.
There's just like, it's done. And it sucks. I haven't quite processed that Janet's gone.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of glad we're through this episode.
And
if you listen through this whole thing,
we've been going for over 2 hours now.
You. Holy crap.
And you can...
Because at some point it stopped being funny.
I know. We warned you up top.
I have none funnies left.
We warned you up top. But yeah, there's a reason that this was an episode.
Eat like an apple fritter right now.
We can stop and get some apple fritters before D&D. But there's a reason this is an episode, obviously, that people have been waiting for us to get to, have been waiting for you to see. This is a touchstone turning point of Stargate as a whole.
Fucking fuck. Yeah.
And again, this is a testament to this series that you can have this episode, that type of roller coaster that goes from things that are truly amusing and funny and sweet to the depths of emotional soul that this thing cuts into you.
Thank God for the drink, because it's the only thing that kept me from falling apart. Like right now, I'm like, I don't feel feelings.
Welcome to my world.
I'm a little bit sick to my stomach.
I'm gonna lock my emotions back in the box for a while.
Shove them way down in there.
Way up there, Morty.
Woo!
Alrighty.
You know where to find us. I want to hear all of the feels, all the feels.
Tell
me what you
about
think.
your thoughts of this episode.
Find us on Twitter at Terra Podcast.
Find us on Facebook at There's No Place Like Terra.
Email us at theresnoplaceliketerra@gmail.com.
And patreon.com/There's No Place Like Terra.
Like us, rate us, review us. We love you guys.
You're awesome.
This is a tough one.
Bye.
Bye.
Yay, we made it.
Oh, dear God.